Meeting of November 18th, 2025. We are a week late from our regular meeting, which would have fallen on Veterans Day. And I think it's apropos tonight that we have an issue dealing with veterans' tax credits. But I jumped the gun a little bit. Let's start with the roll call from our Madam Clerk.
Peter Talbot.
Here.
Don Walsh.
Here.
David Belliver.
Here.
John Malone.
Here.
Fiona Pearson.
Here.
Tricia Kramer. Here. Greg Wolf.
Here.
Tina Allard.
Here.
And Jen Jinks.
Here.
Evelyn Cummings.
Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up this evening, we have public communications, and we have a great one to kick off our meeting tonight. We are going to be recognizing Cheshire High School student Sushita Srinivasan for the development of an online clinicians directory, and I will turn it over to our Youth and Human Services Director, Michelle, to kick it off and talk about Sushita's work.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to recognize a young woman who I am confident is the brightest and most gifted individual I've had the pleasure to meet. I had asked her to send me her resume in anticipation of tonight's meeting so I would have some things to share about her. And I was stunned as I don't know if you can see from here, but this is the resume of a Cheshire High School senior. There are more accomplishments, awards, and achievements on this resume than I've achieved in my long years on this earth. So I'm going to share a fraction of what I know about her and what she's accomplished with you this evening. Sushita has led over 20 workshops on both local and national levels, impacting more than 200 girls. As one of 128 Tech Girls U.S. ambassadors selected from over 6,000 global applicants, she introduced students with learning disabilities to STEM by using adaptive methods such as color-coded learning tools. As an Invent Future Global Young Ambassador, she has spoken at the Global Innovation Field Trip, reaching over 500 students to promote innovation in STEM. Additionally, as a member of the National Speakers Bureau and the National Museum of Education Student Board, she participated in outreach initiatives like the Youth Impact Summit and served as an annual evaluator for national STEM research competitions. Due to her passion for introducing STEM at a young age, she also published a children's book called Ria's Lemonade Stand, An Intro to Coding and Business, which I believe there's a copy at our library, at our local library. I came to know Sushita as she had also volunteered at the Yellow House for Cheshire Youth Services, designing and leading programming workshops, teaching students of varying skill levels, coding concepts, and problem-solving skills with a particular focus on girls and students with learning disability. She's here tonight to be recognized for a project she worked on for Cheshire Human Services. She volunteered her time to develop an online database and website for human services, enabling residents to access and view data from over 100 local clinicians. This online database replaced a 6-month manual data collection process, which was very laborious and time-consuming for department staff. I did pass out copies of the old directory for you to review just so you can see what it used to look like. It's a resource that has become very valuable in this community. It's used by local pediatricians, by our school system, and by residents to access resources for mental health. As you may know, connecting with the right mental health provider can be challenging, but at a time where some providers have 6-month wait lists, a resource like this can facilitate access to providers for those in need. I'm going to have Sushita come up and take you through the process so that you can see what she created and how it works.
Can we get it on the screen, Sean? Oh, okay.
It should come up. It worked 2 times already today, so
Third time's the charm.
there we go.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to speak to you all today about this project. I was really passionate in building it, and I think this will be super helpful to all of the residents in the Cheshire community to find mental health support. And thank you so much, Michelle. It was truly an honor working with you for this. So I'll start with the first website. I built two websites, one for clinicians to upload information, and this information is logged into a database, a cloud database, and it is then connected to a spreadsheet. And this allows Michelle and other workers at the Cheshire Human Services Department to evaluate data in the spreadsheet to make sure that the clinician information is correct and valid. So here's the website that clinicians and providers specifically interact with. This was built using some JavaScript technology, and it asks for information such as their name, their address, their license, what type of groups they work with, their treatment groups, and then also their specialized areas of treatment. And they can select as many as they would like, and it goes on with other information that would be beneficial for residents to consider when choosing a provider. And so once they reach the end, they can also have a comment section if they have any other details they'd like to provide. And they submit this clinical data through this website, and it gets uploaded into a database and also into a spreadsheet that can be verified and vetted. And once all of that information is vetted, it can be uploaded into this wellness directory, which will be available on the town's website for residents to access. And it provides just a brief overview of what this directory is about, and residents can click browse, where they will be presented with a list of a whole bunch of different providers, and then they can also filter through based on what they're looking for. So if they're looking to see that the provider is affiliated with a certain hospital, they can click filtered. Currently, none of these are. They can also, for example, check to see if they work with adolescents and adults, and then filter through, and then look at those specific providers who match their very specific needs. And this allows residents to ensure that, you know, they're finding the provider that is best for them. So this is essentially the two websites that I created, and I'm hopeful that it will be up and running very shortly so that residents can find the support that they need. Thank you.
And just to add, so the next steps are that we're going to create a QR code that people can access so that they can just automatically go to the link for the website. We have about 30 providers logged in now with their information, and we're still collecting information, so we're hoping to have everybody entered by the end of this month and to go live with the website at the end of this month. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
So previously, the book that you showed us, Michelle, previously someone in your department, or if someone came in and were looking for services, you're literally going through page after page after page.
Yeah, so we would go, I'll explain the former process to you. So we would send an email out to area providers with a form that they would fill out. They'd send the form back to us. My administrative assistant would enter that form into a spreadsheet that she had on her computer and then put it into that directory. It was very, very time consuming. And then when we would receive a request for a referral, we would have to filter through that directory to, you know, find exactly what we were looking for. And it's not as user-friendly as we certainly would like it to be. So it's a very complex process sometimes. And then we handed out copies of this directory throughout the community. So the schools all have copies of them, the local pediatricians have copies of them, wherever we felt it was appropriate to leave them. So there's, you know, hundreds of them out there, paper copies. So we also eliminated that, right, the paper copies of the document as well through this process.
The one question I have for Sushita is, if you put in parameters, so in other words, you select work with adolescents, is there a randomizer that will give you the names of the clinicians that work with adolescents in a random order, or will it be the same order every time I click on adolescents and use that as a filter? Does it come up alphabetically, or is there a way to randomize it?
Currently, it is not randomized. It comes up in the order that the data was uploaded, so that
Okay.
would be in the order in which clinicians sent in their information. So, for example, if I were to click out and clear this filter and then click back into adolescents and adults and filter again, Ryan Loss would show up as number one again. So
Okay.
it comes up in the same order every single time.
Yeah. Well, the work that you've done, and I'll turn it over to my colleagues as well, but the work that you've done here and you can physically, after having flipped through that and seeing this, the time that is saved is, and I can see why Michelle is so excited about having this as a tool. What year are you at Cheshire High?
I'm a senior.
Have you picked a school yet?
No, I've applied, but I've
Okay.
yet to pick a school. Yeah.
Well,
Can hear back.
you will be successful in whatever area you choose to go into.
Thank you.
On behalf of the town, thank you, and I'm sure that Michelle and her staff is thank you, and as well as the education partners that we have that use this. But this is a great tool to have, and congratulations to her parents as well, because you certainly played, I'm sure, a huge role in Sushida's development. So thank you very much for your time, and happy to have questions from or comments from colleagues. Ms. Kramer.
Congratulations and thank you on behalf of Cheshire for being such a feather in our cap. I know how hard it can be for people to seek out and find mental health help, even locally, and this type of system, although helpful, it can't be updated as quickly as that can, and can't be accessed by people privately, and if to get rid of a stigma or allow people to find it on their own time is spectacular. In this day and age, any help, getting mental health help is a benefit for everybody involved. And I just had a question with regards to this. Can the clinicians update if they are no longer taking patients, if they fill up, or if they, how many patients they have room for, and is it updated like that? Because that would be helpful too.
So this is a process that the Cheshire Human Services Department runs. Previously, it was done, I want to say every other year, I think. Every year. And so based on my understanding, it's going to be done the same, where this will be updated every year. And so this is mostly background information on the providers and who they work with. And it just provides them with provides residents with the space for them to reach out to who they think matches them in terms of what they need. And then from there, they can look to see, okay, I have 5 options, 3 of them have filled up. Maybe the other 2 will be the ones that I stick with.
I'll speak to that too. So the way that she set it up, each provider sets up their own account. So they have a login and password, so they can go in and update their information. Our plan is to check it actually monthly, because that way we did it every year, but this
Yeah.
way we can actually do it more frequently. So our plan is to check it monthly and look for updates, and then we're able to go in, and the way Sushi just set it up is you can delete the old entry and use the updated one. So providers will be able to update that information, and we'll check it monthly to make sure it's updated.
Well, thank you. Congratulations and all great things. And thank you so much for being the support that she needed to be such a benefit to all of her neighbors and community. Thank you.
So much. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work you put into. It's amazing your maturity and your knowledge here. It's just you're just beginning your career here, and a credit to your parents. You've done a good job with her. I do have a couple questions, just so residents will be able to go onto our website. Instead of calling you and saying, hey, can you recommend them? They'll be able to go onto this website, find who they need. There are, like, after hour, do you have a thing in here that people might be available after hours or weekends? Kind of like the 211 call, the 211 number, but is there a way that they could add in there if they have a 24/7 number for emergency?
They can certainly add that in the comments, right? And then we typically, in that directory, include 211 and the emergency mobile crisis numbers, and so we'll include that on this website as well.
Okay.
But so, yeah, so if people have an opportunity to enter in the comments if they're available after hours, for sure.
So this might be for Sean, but I think this is a very important feature for our website, and I don't want it to get buried in trying to find it in human services. If there's a way that we can bring it to the homepage where, you know, people in a crisis might need to get it. I think it's very helpful. And I'm not sure if that's something that we can do, but I mean, when somebody's in a crisis, the last thing they want to do is try to navigate through a website, even though it's much better. But yeah, I think it would be nice to have it somewhere where it's a lot easier. And thank you again for all your hard work for this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sushita, thank you very much.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And Michelle, thank you to bringing this to us, because we love to hear these stories, so it's great. Appreciate it. Next up on public communications is the recognition of our registrars, deputy registrars, and poll workers for the 2025 election. I see Mr. Hall and Mrs. Nichols are here, if you wouldn't mind both coming up to the podium. So this was the second year, even though it was both your first year for early voting. And from everything I've heard, unless you want to tell me stories that are different, that early voting this year was incredibly smooth. I know that you worked with staff to move it from the lobby, which was a little unwieldy last year, and it was brought up to chambers this year. You had over 2,000 early votes that you and the workers handled. So this is more to say thank you and please to all your poll workers, to your deputies, and everybody that was involved. Please pass along our thanks. I'll certainly turn it over to colleagues, but we'd love to hear from you as to how things went this year.
Well, it was a long 2 weeks, I would say. We were there collectively, both of us were there 14 days straight, from probably 9 a.m. till 10 o'clock every night to be able to count everything. So it was all the way through 14 days straight. We were tired by the end, but we were energized by the fact that we had almost 50% of the registered voters in Cheshire came out during early voting, which we had set a goal of 40-something%, we'd hoped, because I think the last municipal election had something like 39% or something. So we had worked very hard to inform the community about opportunities to vote. We spoke at the library, we spoke at the senior center, we spoke at Elam Park to try and encourage people to come out to vote. The problem we had, and we will put it to all of you to help us solve, is just like you all found in the campaign, the ability for the voters to get information about the candidates running has always been difficult, but it's been more difficult now that we have no news media. So we, as an organization, an office, cannot promote that. We can only promote the opportunity to vote. But we are looking for ways, and I wish Sushita was still here, because I'd like to get her. We had wonderful students. We had wonderful students from the state of Connecticut who allowed us the help of some college students to work at the election. And we have two very, very knowledgeable young women who are going to help us starting in January to develop a program on how to inform the community about voting rights. So hopefully we can get that going in the spring. So we had a good time. We're enjoying our days.
Yeah.
We have a sense of humor about things, and we appreciate the acknowledgement, because it was quite a project. But we're on to newer and greater things starting on December 4th. We're beginning to train on brand new voting registration software to replace that software that's been in place for 25 years. So that'll be our new challenge, and it begins in January. So
Technology never stands still, so yes, it'll be a constant learning experience.
The only thing I might add, with your indulgence, Peter, is now that Sylvia and I are in a kind of unique position. We've seen elections from all sides, including your side. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't thank our two outgoing council members, John and Dina, for service well done. And to everyone who stood for election this year, our community is better for those who are willing to put themselves out there and for those who are willing to serve. So for Dina and for John, thank you very much. We appreciate your efforts.
Thank you both. Colleagues, any questions, comments for our registrars? Ms. Kramer?
I just wanted to ask you a quick question regarding budget and what the state allowance is. How did that meet out?
It's close. So if I may, I don't mean
Yeah,
to.
no.
The data collection will be another couple of election cycles, right? So I think our first municipal election, we probably overstaffed for the first couple of days and appropriately staffed by the end of the 2-week cycle. So our grant was, defer to Sean, I think around 15,600. I think we probably exhausted every dime of that with our personnel needs and other things. So it'll be very close, but as the Secretary of State compiles data over the next couple cycles, I think if the legislature so chooses to reimburse the cities and towns for their early voting costs, that number will get more precise as we get better at doing the staffing. The HR part was something that neither Sylvia nor I were prepared for. It's you know, apples and oranges between last election and this one, but we'll get better as we get into it a little more.
And just to add to that, we had 82 people that were involved as poll workers to be able to do this for 14 days. So there is talk about shortening the time for early voting, although we all agree that it is very valuable to the voters. 14 days is a huge, huge impact to our office, to our staff, to our budget. And so we're working with the Secretary of State to try and encourage the legislature to rethink that length of time, especially for communities who have much smaller voting groups than we do. Imagine the towns that have 2,000 voters, and they still have to be open for 14 days straight and all of those hours. So there's a lot of moving parts in the process, but all in all, it's good. I have to compliment Sean for encouraging us to try this upstairs. It was met with great deal of enthusiasm. I did work at early voting last year. I had been on the job for 2 weeks, and Sean was wonderful, and we met with a huge number of challenges during that 2-week time. And in that 2 weeks, we saw 7,500 people come through the town hall. And that was just through the lobby downstairs. So this time we had 2,500 up here. It was much easier, much more, it was just easier to get people in and out. And Sean was good with his promise. The elevator continued to work throughout the whole 14 days. Right? So,
Although the spry residents of Cheshire were using the stairs more often than we anticipated.
that's true.
Except for Sylvia and myself, we took it. And one last thing, if I may, Peter, just we also had a lot of support from everyone in this building, from the town manager's office to Public Works to the town clerk's office. So if you're feeling cynical about where things sit right now
Don't.
and the political project, if you were to volunteer any of your time to work an election, you'd feel much better about the fact that we're all pulling the boat in the same direction, if I could mix my metaphors. We're all rowing the boat in the same direction. Whatever. I'm no Sashita Saverzamon. I don't know what I'm but nonetheless, so again, I appreciate the opportunity that you see it with a different lens, and that lens was pretty rosy by the end of the whole cycle. So thank you guys.
Mr. Jinks?
Thank you.
Don't go away just yet.
Oh, don't go yet.
I was just going to say that, I mean, we all know, and you guys know, how long a day election day is, and you guys had 14 of those, which is pretty
In a row.
pretty amazing, in a row. So thank you very much for all of that, and to the volunteers and to everyone that made this happen. I heard from a lot of voters saying that they really appreciated how much that the town did this and the state did this, so I think we saw that somewhat in the numbers. So thank you again for the Herculean effort, and we really appreciate it, and the community appreciates it very much.
And for those of you who want some more details, as soon as we get all 9,000 votes entered by hand, one at a time, we can
Wow.
give you some more details. Please be patient.
Looking for volunteer, no more.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you both so much, and please, please, please pass along. Pass along our thanks to the deputies and the poll workers as well, because in this case, it does take a village, and we appreciate all your efforts. Which brings us to item 3C, the introduction of Chesprocott Health Director, Kate Glendon. Kate, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We've been looking forward to meeting you, and please introduce yourself to the group.
Hi, yes. Good evening, members of the Cheshire Town Council. For those that don't know me, I'm Kate Glendon. I am proud to be serving Chesprocott as the Director of Health. I really feels good to be back joining Chesprocott. I was here serving as a public health specialist and acting director during the time of 2017 to 2022-ish, 23, it seems like a long time ago, and rejoined again about 3 months today. I've spent more than a decade or so working in Connecticut in public health, community wellness, chronic disease prevention, and emergency preparedness, which has helped shape my leadership today and is helping to rebuild this district that is more stable, modern, people-centered, and fully deserving of the community's trust. Tonight, I'm proud to share that Chesprocott residents can have complete confidence in their health district. We're strong, capable, and deeply committed to providing high-quality services with transparency, professionalism, and heart. Chesprocott plays a vital role in protecting health and safety every single day. Food and environmental inspections, septic well plan reviews, housing, complaints, environmental investigations, lead, flu and vaccination clinics, community health education, and public health emergency preparedness. Much of our work is quiet and behind the scenes, but its impact is felt in every safer meal, every approved septic repair, every clean kitchen, every healthy person, and every protected home. Since August, as becoming appointed as the Director of Health, my focus has been strengthening operation, reducing costs, and improving consistency, relocating the building, and ensuring that every resident and business receives timely and reliable service. So some of the key accomplishments that have occurred in the past 3 months is that we have strengthened our internal operations by improving our communication and expectations. We are fully staffed, which means that for Cheshire, residents, businesses, and contractors receive faster and clearer and more reliable service. We are restoring our reputation and rebuilding our confidence and relationships in the community through personal meetings and through our work, which means that your questions get answered faster, issues get resolved more smoothly, and the community feels supported. Our environmental team provides exceptional service. Septic and plans are completed in less than a week. We have same-day or next-day responses or concerns, and we have cleaner and more consistent documentation. So projects are moving forward, businesses are staying safe, and residents are getting more timely professional support. Despite the major transition with our move, which happened almost a month ago, we were still able to provide 11 flu clinics, hundreds of shots administered for adults and seniors and children. So we still were able to provide accessible, reliable public health. We've improved and streamlined our financials and responsible use of the town. We're also working on providing a more friendly fee schedule, as we've come to realize that sometimes we have a little bit confusion on it, and so we want to be more fairness to all our small businesses and residents, as well as creating a stronger workflow. So what can you expect from Chesprocott in the new year? You're going to expect improved inspections, record keeping, and data reporting, and online access. We're happy to announce that we have a new digital tool for inspections, salons, daycares, and soon-to-be septic systems, which means that you can get on-the-go reports in the field with our inspectors. We're expanding our community wellness programs, more prevention-focused workshops, chronic disease corporate wellness, and partnerships, providing more clinical services, stronger emergency preparedness, continued transparency, and exploring office hours where people can come into the office and have conversations and meet with our inspectors or the director. So what I really want to say is that Chesapeake, we're here to be responsive, to be deeply connected to the community, and this is the direction we've been moving toward every day. We've strengthened our internal systems, rebuilt important relationships, and are still working on doing that, improved our turnaround times, and overall service and quality. So as we progress in this new era, we would like to renew commitment to strong, reliable public health services, and most importantly, continue to be present and engaged in every needs of the residents we serve. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of reintroduce myself, talk about what has been going on in the past 3 months, and what you can look forward to in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Is probably how I should have kicked it off, but consider yourself to have an open invitation to come back and update the council whenever you so choose. If there's things that are new and exciting that you'd like to talk about, or if there's some sort of public health emergency that you feel we need to be updated on, you have a standing invitation to speak to this council, and we're happy you're here.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We certainly appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you going forward.
As do we. Thank you.
Thanks. So I'm going to actually take before we get into public comment, I'm going to take the privilege of the chair. The November meeting of an odd year is always kind of a bittersweet meeting, because invariably post-election there is a change in council membership, and a lot can be said about both sides of the fence, but when you work as closely as this group works for 2 years together, and it's a lot of meetings. It's not just the one meeting a month. Committee meetings, budget meetings, liaisons, and everything else. We spend a lot of time together, and we get to be very close. We get to be very good colleagues. Do we have our disagreements? Absolutely. I have disagreements with the people on either side of me, let alone ones from different parties. But this group has worked very well together for the past 2 years. But I want to take the opportunity to publicly thank both John Milone and Dina Allard for the work that they have done on behalf of Cheshire residents for the past 2 years. I know that if you guys have, if my budget committee has completed those,
Thank you.
on behalf of the council, and I'll turn it over to my colleagues as well, but from a personal standpoint, John, I have absolutely appreciated your expertise. We've worked together now for 4 years, and I've enjoyed the time we've spent together. I appreciate, we always say that when you sit up here, you can't be knowledgeable in everything. So that when you have a person that's a subject matter expert, you tend to, hold on to that. I know we utilized your talents and your skills quite a bit, and we appreciated all of the times that we got quick and accurate answers from you, and all the work that you did behind the scenes on different committees, or jumping into meetings. Park and Rec, the Bartlett South was a perfect example. So I want to thank you. I appreciate it. Ms. Allard, you've been my neighbor for 2 years now, sitting in that chair, and it's going to be strange to have someone that is not you sitting in that chair. I was incredibly impressed with, this is not an easy job. To sit up here and do this, as I talked about subject matter experts, but there is a lot of stuff that this council handles that is outside of our normal purview and stuff that we cannot be experts in. But when you got elected 2 years ago, I don't think there's a council person that I've worked with in the 14 years that I've sat up here that has worked as hard as you did. You know, you dove into it, you asked all the right questions, you did all the research, and sometimes I wondered if you were more the subject matter expert on a topic than I was, and I've been through a lot of those before. So thank you for all the work that you did while you sat up here. You will be missed. I'll turn it over to colleagues, but I also want to give John and Dina an opportunity to say a few words if they so choose. But if anybody would like to say anything, they can. But Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, Dina, it was great getting to know you these past 2 years. I just wanted to say that you did your due diligence when you came prepared. The topic, whatever it was, you were prepared, and I appreciate that because, like Peter said, this is not an easy job, and you know when you start having things thrown at you, it's very difficult to understand everything. And thank God there's computers and Google. I don't know what they did 30 years ago, but I mean I've used that ChatGPT and everything else to help me understand a lot of things, and I'm appreciative of you taking the time. And I think the town, whatever party, I think this is a very time-consuming job. We don't get paid a lot of money, and it's not something that is easy on your family, your friends, your job. So I hope the town can appreciate every one of us who serves on this. But I know, Dina, I mean, with your family and your kids and your work, it's not easy to do this job. Thank God I own a business where I can maneuver my hours around, but I mean, it's difficult, and I appreciate that you took that time to do that. To John, my friend, for 4 years, his knowledge and commitment to this town started long before 4 years ago. He's donated a lot of his time and effort to this town to have things done, and I'm not sure many people in this town realize what he has done, but you know, I appreciate you being my sounding board, and I appreciate the time that you have put into this. And like Peter said, there were a number of things that would come up, and you know, none of us are engineers and you knew the answers to a lot of things that we would work off of, and I think that's important for people to know. I mean, we all have different talents. You know, somebody comes in with a diamond, I'm going to be the one who's going to tell you what it's worth. But you know, somebody who's talking about a bridge or a road or something, you have that knowledge, and I appreciate all the time and effort you put into it. And I thank you for being a friend and for serving this town the way you have.
Mr. Malone, would you like to?
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for all those kind words. I appreciate it very much. I want to thank the townspeople for giving me an opportunity to serve in this position. It's been an honor and a responsibility. I did not take this on because I enjoy politics or I even had any idea what politics were. I took this on because I saw it as an opportunity to serve the town in a way that I hadn't before. And hopefully I've provided some value over the last couple of years. I know I've learned a lot about the town of Cheshire, and I've said this on many occasions before. I leave this position having much more respect for not only everyone on this council and on the other boards within the town, which I've dealt with before, in terms of their integrity and their interest in doing what's best for the town and giving of their personal time, but also of our town, our management, Sean, your staff, and all of the department heads and all of the people here. It's amazing how hard they all work for the betterment of our town, and how little they waver from their commitment to doing what's best for our community. We're very, very, very lucky here. So to see that firsthand has been the best part of my serving here. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Ms. Allard.
Thank you very much for those kind words. I really appreciate it. As you mentioned, I like to prepare, so I prepared something to say. Sitting with you here tonight, for my last time, it's so bittersweet for me. The decision to step away was not easy, but it is the right choice for me and my family at this time. Before I go, I want to speak from my heart. Serving as a member of the town council has been one of the greatest honors of my life. It's provided me with a deeper understanding of what it takes to maintain this beautiful community that we call home. To the entire town staff, and I mean everyone, thank you for the extraordinary amount of work you do on a daily basis to keep the town of Cheshire running smoothly. It's your professionalism and dedication that makes you the true heroes in Cheshire. I want to thank all of my colleagues on the council. I have learned a lot from our many discussions. I leave here tonight with deep pride in what we've accomplished together. To my Dem peers, I'm grateful for having been part of the Super Six. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, for respecting my sometimes rather strong opinions, and for always encouraging each other to stay true to our values. I will forever treasure the friendships built along the way and look forward to that promised invite from Greg Wolf, with 2 Fs, to gather again for a beer. To the great people of Cheshire, thank you for placing your trust in me. Whether you cast a vote for me, reached out with an idea, a concern, or even a criticism, I am very grateful for your participation. Your voices, your concerns, and your passion for this town have inspired me every day. As grateful as I am in this time I've had on the council, I also want to speak honestly about something that weighs heavily on me, not just as an elected official, but as a returning citizen to the town. I am deeply concerned about the state of our union. Like many of you, I too have often questioned why our political leaders can't seem to work together, and I am sad that everyone feels so divided. One of those reasons people struggle to trust politicians today is simple. Too many are willing to spread misinformation, twist the truth, or tear down their opponents if it helps them gain an advantage. It is heartbreaking because it erodes our trust, which is the very foundation of our democracy. For example, take the false claim that, quote, Democrats are responsible for raising your taxes. In reality, the budget establishing our tax rate was created by a collaborative effort, months in the making, between several department heads, including the town finance director, the school superintendent, the chief operation officer of the Cheshire Public Schools, and the town manager, with a considerable amount of deliberation between the bipartisan elected Board of Education members and the elected bipartisan council members, and for the first time, with increased public hearings to obtain community input. It was not the Dems who raised taxes. It was a collaborative effort at establishing a responsible budget in inflationary times. Despite claims made on a postcard you may have received, it was not the Dems who voted for the Vessel building. It was the Republican-led Planning and Zoning. And no, a vote for the other party would not have somehow magically prevented animal abuse. Statements like these are not a difference of opinion. This is not politics as usual. Let's call it what it is. It's a lie. When lies like these become political strategy, cooperation becomes nearly impossible. When tearing others down becomes more valuable than lifting up communities, everyone loses, and that's the truth. We cannot move forward as a town or a country if truth becomes optional. We, the people, deserve leaders who act with honesty, fairness, and respect for the truth. And together, as a community, we must demand that standard from every elected official, regardless of party or position. We must speak out against the lies that are dividing us each and every time, regardless to who is saying them. As I step away from my role, I want you to know that I stand with you today and always in fighting for that value at every level of government. Local officials, state representatives, and federal leaders alike must remember that their authority is not a weapon to be abused, but a privilege granted by the people they serve, which means all of us. I am aware of the time and the dedication made by all council members, and for that I remain grateful to those continuing. I offer my gratitude to Deb Menke and Lou Tedisco for their willing to serve our community. I trust that this next council will continue to seek input from the community and lead with integrity. Thank you.
Thank you both. I appreciate it. We will have you back in January, and we'll do an abbreviated version of this, but thank you both for your service. Moving on to public comment, I'm going to start with a letter that the council received. It reads, "Dear council members, the subject VA property tax exemption. On June 18, 2024, my husband, Kenneth Newman, went into the assessor's office at Cheshire Town Hall with the information required to apply for the property tax exemption for being classified 100% disabled by the VA. Unfortunately, Ken passed away on July 24th, 2024. At some point, I received a letter from the Town Assessor's Office of Cheshire stating that I no longer qualified for the exemption because Ken passed away before the law was implemented on October 1st, 2024. At that time, I spoke with Fran Bowman from the assessor's office, who stated that a group of assessors had met and decided that if a qualified veteran passed away before the law was implemented, the surviving spouse would no longer be eligible for the exemption. My understanding of the new law implemented on October 1st, 2025 expands this exemption. The new law states that it authorizes municipalities to expand the exemption to qualifying veterans who died before the exemption's implementation on October 1st, 2024. I also spoke with Jason A. Capola, Veterans Service Officer, who suggested I appeal this decision with the town because of the new changes to the law. Ken served 2 tours of duty in Vietnam, the first being aboard a ship for 6 months and again for a full year in country Vietnam. We have owned our house in Cheshire for 50 years. I believe these war veterans and their spouses deserve the best from the town of Cheshire. Thank you very much," and it's signed Ann Newman. With that, I will open it up to any member of the public that would like to address the council. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Tim White, 11 Colonial Court, Cheshire. I believe you have a 3-minute rule, so if you cut me off in the middle, because I have a few different quick hits to go through, just as comments. And first of all, I would like to thank everybody who stood for election. One in particular, a thank you to Dina and to John for your service for the last few years. And also, your comments just a moment ago, Dina, I wasn't thinking about this until you mentioned it, but I appreciate it very much. One thing that comes to mind for me when you're talking about what's almost like seemingly misleading, it just struck me in the past couple days that it was a year ago that the Kids Online Safety Act, which without getting into the details, social media is a problem. Kids are supposed to be 13. It's not enforced across the country. And from my perspective, social media is a big problem for kids. It was a year ago where the U.S. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, said, we're going to let this die right now, even though it passed the Senate. We'll bring it back in a couple months. As far as I know, there hasn't been anything that's happened. And it seems to me it probably was intentionally misleading at that time. He probably knew he wasn't going to do anything. And he could have done something as a Speaker of the House. So thank you very much for the comments. A couple of things that I had already mentioned to you, Peter, as well as to Fiona. The Jarvis prison property, if there's anything that we could do with it. We have, in particular, what I was thinking about is sort of locking in our costs, maybe do solar there, lock in our rates to avoid, budgetary volatility. Also, another thought that came to mind was there was a study done a few years ago that said 83% of Connecticut's energy needs could be met with already existing impervious surfaces, basically parking lots. So if we had solar panels on parking lots, it would address 83% of the energy needs in Connecticut. And we have lots of parking lots here. And the reason I mention those two in particular are because we are engaged with Johnson Controls right now. And to just throw that out at them, it may actually be relatively simple for them to come back with some ideas. It may not work, I have no idea, but that's their job to tell us if it could make sense. Our vehicle fleet, this is something that I mentioned, just a thought on engaging in a discussion with the town manager, town staff, rather than waiting till the capital budget. And I don't know if this is something that would happen, I don't mean to say that, but if you wanted to switch over to electric vehicles, if it made sense, economic sense, I think that probably start a conversation sooner rather than waiting till the capital budget. And I know that you all know it, but I'm just sticking a pin in it just to highlight that for everybody. RWA bills. So I got my recent, I think it was last month, I got my bill from the RWA, and mine had gone up, surprisingly. Not the rate, the consumption. It made no sense to me because we didn't change our consumption in our house. But then I also had a couple other people actually mention this to me in the past month. I don't know if there's anything to it. Hopefully there's nothing to it and it'll just come back the following month, like a little bit, charged a little bit high. I don't know. But it also struck me as Cheshire is engaged in a performance contract right now. Most organizations, including the town, I think about probably 3% of our budget is energy related. Water companies are about 30% energy related. It's just pushing water through the pipes. I think it's their big job. So Dina, I say to you, I believe you're our new rep to the RWA, to please bring that forward. Because if it could help the town of Cheshire when it's only 3% of our budget, if it's higher than that, there's probably an opportunity for something there to help save some money. So my last question is for my 4th district council member, Tricia Kramer. A few weeks ago, there was a post on Facebook, which I'm guessing it was from you. I don't know if it was, but, and these are my words, I'm paraphrasing, but my understanding, my recollection is basically, you were talking about local Republicans doing not nice things. And then you included a list of things that you considered to be not nice, and to me it didn't sound nice either. And one statement was, say no to flag bans, which I can completely understand you saying that. There was a flag ban here in the town of Cheshire. And then in the second statement, it was say no to rewriting history and censoring our schools. So when I see a flag ban mentioned, something that actually happened related to the council, and then I see censoring our schools, it leads me to believe that the Board of Ed has done something about censoring our schools or rewriting history or banning books. And I'm just wondering if you could explain to me what you were, if that was your comment, because I don't know if it was you who wrote it on Facebook, but if you could just explain it to me.
Tim, and I appreciate the comments, but it is public comment rather than a back and forth dialogue. I think you've made your point, and
Understood.
We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks again to everybody for what you do.
Anyone else?
Good evening. Jeff Falk, 560 Mixville Road. I'm sure we can all take a wild guess why I'm up here. The veterans tax exemptions, which I missed the budget meeting. I had a previous engagement, so hopefully it passed and is going to come up to the council tonight.
It's on the agenda for tonight. I wasn't in budget either, and I know that they recommended that it did come to the council for discussion, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I hope. I mean, Mr. Jenks was great to host us last month for the budget meeting, the special budget meeting about it. And we all advocated for, you know, the town taking on further tax exemptions with the surviving spouses. I think there was 12 or 13, one Gold Star family, the TDIU, which is total disability unemployable, and up to 2 acres of land. So right now it costs the town about $250,000 in the exemptions, and from the numbers I saw at the budget meeting, it would cost the town another $250,000 to include the rest. And mind you, that's just a small share of the veterans, but they are the veterans that are most deserving, especially those TDIU veterans who the act was initially made for, but somehow it just got to 100% permanent and total only, and now it's up to the towns. And one thing I think that was mentioned, maybe I think it was Mr. Milone did, was, you know, go to the state and ask for, you know, all these unfunded mandates that come down every year and multiple times, you know, see if, hey, they'll give us 100,000 towards it or something. You know, it doesn't hurt to ask, because the answer is always no until you do. But as commander of the VFW here in town, I've talked to plenty of veterans, a lot who are eligible. I even spoke with one today up at the Notch. I was up there for coffee with a cop and ended up talking with a Vietnam veteran who had a little bit of difficulty because he put his house in a trust in his name. So, but he ended up getting the exemption because he's 100% permanent and total. So it's just nice. I informed him what we're doing up here tonight and advocating and what the council may be considering, and he was very happy. He just moved to town a few years ago and is excited that hopefully it will get expanded. And, you know, the only other thing I have to say is, you know, in the next year or so, we'll be hopefully moving on Bartland Park with the veterans stuff there. And Mr. Milone has been a huge asset, and that will continue to be. Him and his sidekick Dave, who's a Navy veteran, have been working on that for well, probably a couple of years now. We've been meeting on that stuff, and we're finally making traction with the Veterans Committee. So, but, you know, I advocate enact all those benefits for the veterans eligible, and we'll leave it up to Sean and Jim on where to find that extra $250,000 from, which shouldn't be too difficult to find, hopefully, but we'll see. He can raise my father's taxes a few points. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Falk, appreciate it. Speaking of Mr. Falk, I see him shaking his head. He's going to rebuke what his son just...
Don Falk, 23 South Pond Circle, Cheshire, father of the gentleman that just suggested you raise my taxes to cover him. But I do wear a couple of hats in addition to what Jeff is a VFW commander. I'm the American Legion commander, and I'm also chairman of the new Veterans Committee to you council folks. And I appreciate what you're going through. We went over what this law said on the meeting we had with the Budget Committee, and there's a couple openings here for the town to include, especially, I would want to say, the widows of those that were permanently disabled, and those that are 70, 80% disabled but receive 100% because they're unemployable. Obviously, those two groups are, you know, I believe should be included as are the disabled vets. I understand the mandate is the dwelling and only, and not these other two groups. 2 acres could also be added, but it's up to you folks how much of that you're going to provide. And I encourage you to provide all of it to these veterans, their families. The families, we don't talk a lot about the support that they've given the veterans through their lifetime while they served. I think the duly noted that they deserve it as much as a disabled vet that has passed away. Again, hope you'll see that in a positive light, and thank you too, John. John's going to be working with us. We'll be back to you, you know, for some other stuff later on, but right now it's about this issue, and hope you'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Falk. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Moving on to the approval of minutes, item number 4, the approval of minutes from October 14th, 2025, which was our regular meeting. I'll accept a motion. Mr. Jenks, and a second for Ms. Allard. Thank you both. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the consent calendar for Tuesday, November 18th. Mr. Jenks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves resolution number 111825-1. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves the consent calendar for November 18th, 2025 as follows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items.
Thank you, Mr. Jenks. Thank you, Ms. Pearson. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. There are no items removed from consent. Old business, bringing us to A, the school building committee update. It's been a few months, although we were together for a great tour that you helped put together of both the Barnum School and the new Norton School, which were fabulous. So first of all, thank you for doing that. As I do every month, please pass along the thanks of this group to your membership, because they're doing an extraordinary job, and we appreciate their efforts. And with that, I'll turn the mic over to you, Mr. Gussenberg.
Hey, thank you. I was pleased that so many people were able to join us on the November 6th visitations. I think we had pretty much everyone from the town council. We had some previous town council members, the Board of Education, the building committee, and even a number of educators who were checking out their classrooms and ready to move in. Because we just 10 days ago were in the site, I did not bring any pictures today, but maybe next month when I come. I did go through both buildings today and added some photos onto our Facebook page if you want to take a look and get the latest update. Each month we get a report from O&G giving us an indication of where each of the different pieces of the 2 projects are. They report as of the end of October that the site work is anywhere from 46% to 60% complete at the 2 different sites. As you know, the Barnum site is a little bit ahead on that aspect. Classroom wings are approximately 40 to 45% complete. And it was nice as I walked through today to see that they were painting rooms, and the classrooms are really starting to look like classrooms. The preschool wing is approximately 25% complete. That will be coming along soon by design. The core facilities, which are the library, media center, the cafeteria, the gymnasium, are about 30% complete. Both buildings are projected to be essentially complete by mid-July, with the old Norton demolition and parking lot construction to be taken care of in the summer and fall of 2026, with a completion there hopefully in November. Barnum School, the exterior, the driveways, the curbing, nearly complete. The playfield grass is coming in well. We have large crews of 100 or more working throughout the site, completing roofing, running plumbing lines and ducts and electrical. Classrooms and hallways are being sheetrocked. As was reported earlier, there was a problem procuring bricks for the school. The kiln blew up in the place where we were purchasing the bricks. We had to quickly source them from a different place, and that has meant that delivery is running later. This has been solved, but has delayed the completion of the exterior and delayed the installation of the windows. However, we have been assured the overall project is still on schedule. At Norton School, the exterior siding is nearly complete. Windows are being installed. As is true with Barnum, there are large crews at work completing the roofing, running the plumbing lines and ducts and electrical, and most of the classrooms and hallways have been sheetrocked. We received a formal letter of agreement from Eversource where we are guaranteed the following once systems have been fully installed. At North End, in excess of $836,000 we'll be receiving from Eversource, and Norton almost $748,000. That's because of our geothermal system. On November 6th, the Next Generation School Building Committee and the Board of Education unanimously approved the furniture and technology packages for both schools. This information has now been set up to the state for their approval. At the meeting on November 13th, the committee discussed additional irrigation for the fields at Barnum School, since these fields will be heavily used by community groups, and there are few other fields in that part of town. The committee approved money for their infrastructure at this point for the fields, with a decision in the future to install the actual irrigation. A few other items. The Next Generation School Building Committee have continued to meet with Johnson Controls regarding potential plans for adding solar panels to Barnum and Norton schools as part of the town's energy conservation plan. We've had, I think, 3 different meetings with Johnson Control and are hoping that we'll be able to complete that at our December meeting. At the request of the school maintenance department, the need for an additional storage facility at each school was discussed at the October committee meeting. This facility would store attic stock and outside tools such as snow blowers. Committee decided to put this request on hold at this point until final costs are better determined. At Norton School, ONG has been running a program called ONG Builds. It includes approximately 30 to 35 sixth grade students who come in, and they did a hands-on workshop at the end of October on masonry, where each of them actually got their hands onto the bricks and mortar and built I don't know if it was part of our building. I think they were just practicing, but they love the program. They really enjoy it and are learning a lot about construction. And I know that there's another group coming up. It's the same group, but another lesson coming up in the next week. So that's where we're at the moment, and I'm open for any comments or questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gussenberg. Appreciate it. We always look forward to your updates on a monthly basis. Questions from colleagues? Mr. Walsh.
You mentioned the storage facility that you put on hold up at Barnum School for the snow blowers, whatever. What was the original plan for that? Obviously you're going to need snow blowers. Where were they going to be stored?
Well,
if you don't build that, where will they be stored?
There's always some storage within a facility. Of course, we work within state guidelines in terms of square footage, so storage is one of those things that is often at a bit of a premium. And It really came up as we began to talk about all the attic stock that's coming as part of construction. You know, as in the contracts, as you have extra ceiling tiles, carpeting, whatever, all those things are to come to us. It gets handed off to the school department, and it's up to them where are you going to put these things. That's when they started talking about saying, you know, we really could use additional storage above and beyond what's in the building. If it wasn't there, then the school department would have to find a place to put it, and where that would be up to Vin Massiano and his.
Did you have a
and his
cost on
people.
that storage, or is
Do
there?
I have a what?
Did you get a cost on how big of a storage unit?
No, we
or-
didn't pursue it at
Oh, you
this
didn't
point.
pursue-
It came
okay.
before the committee.
All right.
And I've asked our architects to take a look. There's really two options if we were to move ahead with this. One would be to build a permanent facility, a block and a brick facility that matches the building. The other is to do a Cloder Farm kind of thing, which you bring in. I know that our architect just recently completed a project down in Madison, and that's what they did down there. But, you know, having worked in numerous elementary schools in my life, I know that storage is often an issue. When I finished Long Meadow Elementary School in Middlebury, the architect introduced me at the opening as Rich Storage Closet Gussenberg, because he said he never met a guy who was so focused on that. But it's because I worked in so many buildings where there was no storage at all. So,
Yeah.
you know, they'll make do one way or another. The committee hasn't made any commitment. They said, you know, let's put this off for now, and we'll bring it up later in the spring when we have good idea of where we stand financially.
Thank you for that. And one other thing, you had mentioned about the fields, because I remember there were talks about they were going to wait till later to do the fields. What types of fields will be there, just so, at Barnum?
There are two fields at Barnum. If you go up there now, you can see them. Unfortunately, when you visited, it was dark by the time we got there, so you really couldn't get a feel for it. One of the pictures that I put onto Facebook today is a picture of the front of the building with one of the fields that's there. There's also another field on the north side of the building. So there's two fairly good-sized fields, soccer-sized fields. This came upon, we talked about putting irrigation when we first started the project, and it wasn't in the original ed specs. It's not a reimbursable cost. So the committee did not pursue it at that time. We have a very healthy contingency right now, and we received a letter a couple of months ago from Andrew Martelli saying that there had been conversation with different groups in town, and he wanted the committee to take a second look at that, which we did, and the committee decided to go ahead, feeling that those fields will get used quite extensively by community groups. It will enhance, you know, what the students are able to do there, but it's really mainly to make sure that those fields are in good shape for the various sports activities for the town.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Gussenberg.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much.
it. Thank you again for putting the tours together for us. But the four most important words I heard the night of our tours were on time, under budget.
And that's still
So-
the case. I'll let you know if that changes, but that's still the case.
No, please, yeah, please don't. Keep doing the reports that you're doing. We appreciate
And we have
those,
talked
but
about
thank
doing
you.
another visitation sometime in the spring when you can really get in, and we're, at that
We
point,
look
really
forward
get a
to it,
feel
yeah.
for the completed building, so.
I have
Thank
one.
you very much.
I just have one quick question
Sure.
because I've been missing out on all the tours because I have mobility issues. If as soon as the ground is level and maybe there's concrete, I would love to be able to come and see the progress of the construction.
The grounds are fairly walkable right now.
Is it flat concrete or is it dirt?
Well, you've got dirt around most of Norton School.
As soon as
You've got-
that's
you've
accessible,
got
I would love
pavement,
to go.
That now leads up to, you've got sidewalks and pavement that lead up to the front of Barnum.
Stairs?
There are stairs, there's no elevator yet.
Okay, as soon as it's accessible, I'd love to.
Okay, we got a ways before the elevators come.
I'll wait and I'll look at pictures and live vicariously through the stories.
And through the
I'll
photos.
I'll keep you in
Yeah.
mind when that elevator gets up and running. Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you again, appreciate it. We move on to new business. Item A is the review and possible action regarding the veterans' tax exemptions. Mr. Jinks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved, the Town Council approves resolution number 111825-2. Be it resolved that pursuant to State of CT Public Acts 25-26, 25-2, and 25-168, the Town Council hereby amends the Town of Cheshire's Veterans Tax Exemption to include the following municipal options pertaining to qualified dwellings beginning with the October 1st, 2025 assessment year. Number one is unmarried surviving spouses of veterans who would have otherwise qualified for the exemption, but died between the date January 1st, 1900 and October 1st, 2024. Number two, totally disabled individual unemployable, which is TDIU, individuals qualified by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And three, surviving spouses or parents of active duty service members killed in action while performing military duty.
Thank you, Mr. Jinks. Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Mr. Jinks for discussion.
Yeah, so I'll make a few comments, and then I'm going to throw it over to Sean for a bit more detail. But basically, the state left it in the municipality's hands to decide which kind of classes of veterans we offer to extend exemptions to. There are, as I mentioned, the totally disabled individual unemployable group. That's right now there are 9 of those individuals in Cheshire. There's the surviving spouse of veterans deceased. That's 13 individuals in Cheshire. And then there's also a surviving spouse or parent of service member who died in line of duty, the Gold Star family, which we have 1 of those in Cheshire. We're looking at the option to, or the resolution is the option to extend the exemption to the dwelling, to the building for these individuals. And Sean, if you have something else you'd like to add to that, please be my guest.
Sure, just briefly. Again, it's I think a little bit confusing in terms of the timing. I think the original legislation, which was passed sort of now 2 years ago, effective for the year we're in now, and the council will remember through the budget process, we did account for the associated revenue loss with extending the benefits to the 100% P&T eligible veterans per the law. On the sheets that I passed out here and that the Budget Committee reviewed at their last 2 meetings, the associated, and you have to remember these are reductions in assessment, so these are taking your assessed value for the veteran, or in this case, the surviving spouse or family, as outlined, would be reduced. And in this case, the dwelling would basically come off of the value that generates your tax bill. For ease of impact, we've translated those into rough estimates of what the tax impact would be, what we would have to account for as a revenue loss as we establish next year's budget, because it's just kind of easier. Of course, we're using the current mill rate to do that, so obviously the mill rate will be adjusted with next year's budget, but it's a good estimate for what the cost of doing so is. But as Mr. Jinks indicated, for the current year that we're in now, the budget that we approved back in the spring for the fiscal year July to June that we're in right now, the existing law pre these options totaled a tax impact of about $256,000. That's the 31 eligible residents we had on for the current year, plus an additional 7 that would be eligible for next year that have applied in the meantime. That impact on next year would be a $256,000 impact, so to speak, but that's not an option, right? That's established in the law. The legislature then, in the subsequent year, in order to, I think, more intentionally reach the groups they were trying to reach, and as you've heard from some of the speakers, were perhaps left out of the way the initial legislation was crafted. That is your TDIU individuals, your surviving spouses, and the Gold Star family. In this case, we have 1 family in Cheshire that would qualify, as far as we know, that have at least either applied or made themselves known to us as we've come up with these calculations. So those are the decisions. Each of those are an option that the council has before you. And then the last that you heard also referenced was the way the law is written now. It applies to the dwelling only for all categories, both those that are existing now on the 100% list, as well as if implemented and extended to the surviving spouses or TDIU individuals, et cetera. You have the option to extend that to the dwelling only as well, which is how we have it now, or to exempt up to 2 acres of land for an additional exemption. So happy to answer any questions on that. I think as proposed or as read into the proposed resolution there, it's an additional impact of about $156,000. And then if you were to extend also to the land, it's another $140,000, give or take.
Questions? Mr. Veliver.
Thank you. So I appreciate this, and I'm just looking at this. So just from an economic standpoint, so under the current, based on, as we leave it right now, we're currently looking at about $256,000 on the current year. And if we added nobody else, that's where we are. So, but adding, as Mr. Jenks had mentioned, there's approximately 23. But based on this category, I think 23 people we'd be adding. So you're saying if we add those additional 23, it's going to be another 140,000 next year? 100.
No, for the dwelling only.
Yeah. So if we didn't add the land, we just did dwelling only and added these extra categories, it's an extra 150,000.
It's 152,000.
So that gets us to about 408,000.
All in, that's correct. Okay. Right. Compared to where we were, and this just to be clear, remember we accounted for some of this in this year's budget, but
right.
Sort of I guess the best way to compare is to 2 budgets ago,
right,
when there was the only thing we had on the books for veterans, not making any distinction for 100% P&T, TDIU, or any of the others, was the existing veterans tax exemption, which really pales in comparison. I would argue that it was only a $5,000 reduction of assessment, so that's only really a tax relief of about $150 at a 30 mill rate, right? So,
right,
we're talking about, that's, as you see on the list, it's a very different scale now going forward.
Right. So we go to if we did just dwelling only and added these additional categories next year, approximately we're at $408,000. And then if we included land in that exemption as well, you estimate another 100 and something.
It's about another 140,000. So all in about 550 from where we were 2 years ago.
Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure, because obviously that's going to be this is an important topic, but obviously it's going to be a big gap in there as well. So.
And I would just echo, I know I said it a second ago, but just to reiterate, these are the best estimates we can provide. There could be folks that were not aware that once they hear the program's been implemented could also add to these numbers. Folks that can move into town that would obviously be eligible for these exemptions as well. So there's a little bit we don't know. We're doing our best job to predict using the existing mill rate.
And if you could explain the land part again, you're saying we exempt. How do we because obviously usually the dwelling is the big ticket item for most tax bills.
Yeah, so if you look at the list, it's probably easiest to see if you have the sheet here that has the green numbers and the yellow number. They're highlighted at the bottom. Each of those are actual properties that are eligible in town under these categories. Obviously, there's no names associated with these, but if you take the first individual, right, their total tax bill, if you look in the third from the right column, their tax bill is, and the assessment values are there on the left, but the associated tax bill for the first individual is $10,902 total. Exempting the dwelling only would be $8,227 off of the bill, leaving a tax bill of approximately $2,600, down from $10,900. Exempting the land as well would make the tax bill zero. And so that's the additional $2,600. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. I appreciate that. I was just trying to figure out how that, but my question my question to you is, and I don't know how this works, and obviously this is an assessor issue maybe, but for example, if someone lives in a condominium where, I don't know how much, you're generally in a condominium, I don't know how much is attributed to the land, when you're talking about a tax bill, I don't know how much of that is attributed, probably not much.
I don't know, you'll see a
Couple zeros in there.
There's zeros for land, that might be that case, but
Right.
I don't have the answer.
Right, no, and I was just curious, so with the proposal that's here, to perhaps the chairman or, Mr. Jinks, is the resolution now to exempt both land and building?
No, right now.
Just building?
Just building, yeah.
Okay.
We can add the land option later. We don't have to do it all right now.
Right, no, I get, but right now, the main purpose is adding these three, potentially adding these three additional categories to that, to the
Correct,
grouping.
for the building, right.
Right. So, I guess the other question I have is, Mr. Chairman, you and I both received an email from a resident that you and I both talked about, and would this, if you...
That was the one I read into the record tonight.
No, there was another one from a resident in Old Town who was TDIU and was asking...
Oh, okay.
Saying,
Yes.
And
All
I
right.
guess my question is that, would this individual, based on his category, it sounds to me like that this person wasn't qualified, but now would become qualified by this resolution, correct?
Under number 2, the TDIU.
Right, okay, so I just wanted to make sure, and I know you and I, you responded to him, we both
Yes.
sort of responded to him with the idea that we were working on this, the council was addressing this, and we would get back to him. I just want to make sure I understand that if we pass this resolution, this would, in the affirmative, answer his question. Yes,
Yes.
he would be covered. Okay.
Correct, yep, as far as the dwelling is concerned, yes.
Thank you. And, and so, right, which, and because he lives in a condominium, that was, I guess that was part of my question was, he does, he probably doesn't have much of a land
I was gonna say, I'm
land
not
tax-
sure you own,
Yeah, right, right, so I don't think you get really taxed for land.
Usually owned by the HOA, so.
Yeah, and it's really, it's minimal as to what the land is attributed to the tax bill. So, I just wanted to put that out there and just ask you, because I know you and I both read that email and responded to him, and I just want to make sure, since we left it with, we'll get back to him, I just want to make sure the answer is that he would be covered by this resolution. Okay, thank you, and thank you, Sean, for your outlining those numbers.
Mr. Jinks and then Ms. Allard.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, we discussed this in budget earlier tonight, and also the meeting that Mr. Falk and Mr. Falk mentioned previously. But, one of the, I guess, we didn't decide, we didn't make a recommendation at the budget committee, but, we can, as we kind of discussed, we can phase this in. I think the intention is to get to the point where all the exemptions are available. We phased this in, with the additional categories this year based on the buildings. It gives us an opportunity to, we don't know if we have all the veterans, we probably don't, that are in these lists here. So this will give us a chance to see kind of, who else comes forward, get a better sense of what the impact is. We are in this period still where, this coming budget year is going to be, is going to be challenging again from the standpoint of revenue, because we're, not at the point yet where the north end revenue is coming to the town or fully to the town. So my feeling is it's a bit more conservative, but we're also doing a lot more for the veterans by adding these categories than are currently available. So just wanted to let the council know kind of where I was coming from.
Thank you, Mr. Jinks. Ms. Allard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean, thank you for that information. I just want to check my understanding. So, with just the dwelling, the total, including what the previous exemption was, along with this motion, would be approximately $412,000. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, when compared with, see, I'm trying to be careful to compare to,
Right.
we accounted for some of, about half of this in rough
Right.
numbers in the budget we're in now. So in
Right.
terms of when we're reviewing the budget, let's say in March, and looking at where we're having revenue losses if we were solely looking at that. That number, year over year, would look like about 150,000 because we've already accounted for about $200,000 to $250,000. Does that make sense? But yes, the overall impact of the legislation now enabling the exemptions is about $408,000.
Okay, and I know that we're using assumptions based on current mill rate. Can you give us an estimate of how a loss of revenue of $412,000 would affect the mill rate? Like, is it a 1 mil? Is it a 0.5 mil? How does that affect the mill rate? An estimate.
Yeah, it's about 1/10 of a mil because 1 mil is $4 million. Right, Jim? Keep me honest. Yeah. So
So a
it would
tenth
be
is
about
400.
a
A
mil,
tenth
so
of a mil.
Yeah, 0.10 on.
And then if we were to, in the future, phase in a tax exemption for the land, we're talking about, I know we're talking estimates, but approximately $550. So it's not really going to impact even that mill rate tremendously. Is that correct? Still about 1/10 of a mil?
It's about a third of a tenth.
Okay, yeah.
The
Yeah.
140 is, is,
Yeah, I mean, it's $140,000, so extrapolated into a mill rate, it's a smaller mill number, but of course, it's still $150,000 or $140,000, at least with the list we have now of eligible individuals.
Right.
It's still that amount in the budget, so it's whatever you can think of that's in the same ballpark, that's what it either covers or doesn't cover.
Yep. While I recognize that we need to be careful about how we're reducing revenue, I fully support veterans and their families completely, so I'm definitely in supportive of this. I think we fund our values.
Mr. Walsh.
Thank you. I also am in support of this. I just had a question, though. These are all pending income eligibility, correct? All these categories? No?
No.
So it's just the last
There's
one
no
that is.
income eligibility.
So the last one on this says pending income eligibility. So what is that, how does that differ?
Yeah, so that was more, there, Chris was, our town assessor was awaiting some confirmation as to, when it comes to that's just the Gold Star family.
Right.
The legislation, at least in her summarizing of it, was a little unclear as to whether there was, because it was referencing other existing statutes and whether there was an income eligible portion. It does not appear there is. That's just for the one individual.
Okay, yeah, well, that's why I wasn't sure why that one would.
That one has Gold Star families. There's some specificity in the legislation if you read, because it has to apply. If you have a divorce, if you have a parent, if a spouse is not, if there's no spouse or there's no surviving spouse, it goes to the parent. I mean, there's a series of extensions that apply that cover the Gold Star families. And so I think a piece of that also was determine whether there's been a divorce with the parents and other things that can apply, that you have to be careful that you're not exempting more than the total property would be otherwise, I think is the way it works. But I wouldn't, there's no income eligibility.
Right, okay, so
threshold for any of
that's,
these.
I was a little confused because I saw that and I'm like, wait a minute. I thought-
Yeah, that was a note from her first reading of the Gold Star piece alone. All
Okay.
the rest are absolutely
No income eligible.
eligible.
Okay. The other thing is how do other towns compare to what we might be passing here? Are most of them doing the same type of thing with the building, or are we ahead of the game with this, or are we behind?
I haven't conducted a survey or anything, and I don't have that. I know a lot of towns are grappling with it now.
Right.
Some towns have extended the land, but may not have done the other options. I think it's really a municipal option across the board. So I'm not in a position to answer that.
And I'd just be curious, maybe Mr. Falk might know how many potentially additional veterans might be in this town that aren't registered. I mean, because that could change the whole thing too. I mean, I don't know if we're talking another 20, another 30, or maybe 3 or 4. I'm just curious to see if, but because once we pass this, I'm sure there will be people out there who will say, well, you know, we should take advantage of it. And I encourage all veterans to take advantage of it. But I'm just curious if we have an idea. We don't even have an idea of how many veterans, unless one of you guys know how many veterans are actually in this town. Yeah, I mean, you know how many have belong to your groups, but I mean, you know.
I mean, while he's coming up, I could just speak a little to that. I mean, I think it's a pretty accurate estimate because you have to remember some of these folks were notified based on the way the law was originally written that they were going to be qualifying and then only subsequently found out they weren't. And so with the TDIU folks, they had to be told after the fact, after applying, not getting credited with it, but unfortunately you're not eligible based on the way that. So I think that list is accurate in that we know the folks at least, again, I'm not fully answering the question that there couldn't be someone who just wasn't even aware and becomes aware and applies. Obviously that's a chance. But between that and of course the surviving spouses, because we know that and extend that with the existing, although smaller veterans tax exemption, there are certainly surviving spouses that are well aware of the program and the potential for being added to this benefit. So I don't think there's going to be dozens of surviving spouses that come out of the woodwork. I would be surprised.
It won't change dramatically here.
I don't think it would, but it is also possible that people move. That's the other variables. People can move to town. We know of a veteran who moved to town last year that was coming out of state to Connecticut for the, in part, looking at Connecticut because of this benefit of the significant reduction in property taxes. But anyway, I'll see if Jeff has any other feedback.
I think Sean covered it very well. I mean, it's been highly publicized through everywhere. Every time I go to VFW meetings, district meetings, state meetings, all types of veteran stuff, it is out there. And I don't think you're going to see it jump by more than a few. Either way, I think it's the way it is. I mean, to become a permanent and total disabled veteran, usually you're above 55. Most of them are in the Vietnam era, so they're 75, 80 years old, and go from there. But I think that's a pretty accurate. Most of the veterans we have in our group and our contacts already have their disabilities, those that have applied, and go from there. So I don't think you'll see a big fluctuation.
Ms. Pearson.
Yeah, actually, don't go too far, Jeff, because maybe you know. So just building on what Councilor Walsh was asking in terms of what other communities are doing, because we did talk about this in our budget meeting. Wallingford and Southington did include the land, but it's not clear to me that Southington, for example, included the spouse benefits. And so it seems to me is that different towns are doing different things in terms of the gaps they're choosing to fill. I don't know if you have any knowledge of that. It sounds like they did vote in September to include the land for these first two categories, but they didn't necessarily add these other categories necessarily. And I don't know what Wallingford has done. So in terms of moving forward, I mean, ultimately, I'd like us to consider the land, and that was one of the reasons why the Budget Committee did not issue a recommendation, because I think that's something we ought to consider. But I also understand my fellow councilors in terms of wanting to phase this in to ensure that if there are other folks who are not on this list as part of this 60 households who could potentially be applying and benefiting, they have the opportunity to begin to benefit. And if we focus on the buildings first, which is the larger exemption than just the land, then I think that would make more sense, is to do what we're doing and focus on this TDIU category and their surviving spouses and the service members who died in the line of duty, the Gold Star. So focus on those numbers, which are larger than just the land for those first two categories, but I think it's important to include those categories, particularly as they were promised these benefits, and then those benefits were rescinded as a result of changes in the law. So.
Just one thing I might add, check with the assessor, but I believe when this became law, she reached out to the veterans that are on the list currently receiving tax deductions for whatever reason, to let them know this was there. I think she mentioned that in our meeting. So if you've got 1,500 veterans or however, I don't even know myself, they were all notified that this law existed. If they qualified, come forward. So that would indicate maybe that you've got them, most of them, other than those that move into town.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Mylone?
Thanks, Peter. Yes, we did discuss this in budget, and I'm comfortable with the motion the way it's set forth. I concur with Jim that taking a kind of a phased approach with this, since we are, the community will be, not myself in the future, but the community will be looking at budget issues very carefully in the future. I would offer a compromise if people are interested in it. It makes it a little more complicated, but I did learn that while they were exempted from the statute on this originally, the TDIU, individuals who are unemployable really are probably in a category the most needy to incorporate the land associated with those individuals if we wanted to incorporate anything to make this a little bit more palatable in the short term, just because I think, as I learned about this, those individuals were at probably the most significant impact financially. I would like to say one other thing, though, before I just give up the mic, because there was a discussion about, how much this meant to the mill rate, et cetera, individually. And I just caution the council as they move forward to be careful of doing that and considering even that on individual basis going forward. In engineering, and you discussed my background, we've experienced increased flooding in communities over many years. And most communities have adopted what they call a zero increase in runoff criteria. And what that means is that when you come forward with new development, you have to accommodate design that includes no increase in runoff. And that was adopted because it's easy to say, well, this is a very small development, and the increase in runoff is associated with this is very small or hard to calculate. And if you do that over and over again, what you end up is increased flooding downstream. So communities adopted this concept of zero increase in runoff. Now, right now, I know Cheshire requires, even for an individual house, measures to ensure that that one house doesn't increase runoff through rain gardens and other things. And I think we can get into that trap with our expenses as it relates to taxes. If we just look at something individually and say, well, that's really a small item and it's manageable, because that approach won't be beneficial long-term, because every little thing will eventually add up to 2 or 3 mills. And I just ask you to look at that as you go forward and consider that, because we've had to do that in other areas, and I think it's effective, and it's been effective in reducing flooding. I think it could be effective in reducing tax increases. So, but I'm supportive of this. If someone wanted to add in the land just for the TDIU, which is $20,000 estimated additional cost, I would be supportive of that if you think that's, you want to modify it in any way.
Ms. Kramer?
I want to put the subject matter into that bucket of trying to be an expert on so many different things that we've never had to even think about in our lives. It's one thing to be an expert on all subject matter. I'm just trying to know a little bit about most of the things that we talk about. We're making a big budget decision on something that's incredibly complicated. So, and I am 100% for supporting veterans in their daily lives, something that we owe, a debt of gratitude that we'll never be able to pay for. So I'm 100% for supporting them with tax exemptions. My question basically has to do with, as all good laws do, I know this isn't again, I'm not a subject matter expert by any means, but I know that this law is in transition. It's, as all good laws do, it's in a state of evolution and perfection. And as as new laws are implemented and they're found to be lacking or failing, or they've excluded some or included others, I know that this is changing on a state level, possibly. And I know each municipality is taking on different aspects of it and implementing them on their own level, such as we've already heard Southington and Wallingford, and everybody's trying to get it right and to help the people that need it the most in the way that's most helpful. So in the future, if something does come down the line of income-based or more economic needs-based, would that be something that we could then implement on a municipal level with our statutes? Or is, once we pass this and everybody's included, no matter what their income is, or, you know, land and property, is that just what we have in perpetuity? Does anybody know? Did I even phrase that in a question?
I'm happy to take a stab, but I probably should bow to Mr. DeAgostino on this one.
If I understand your question correctly, if the law changes, then the town council have the right to change what they charge, what they tax their citizens. So in the future, again, if legislature is in flux in terms of what they want to do with the veterans, you should have the opportunity to change. And that's in general.
And I would also just add, with this particular legislation was crafted not as a state mandate, but as a state series of options. So the town actually has the option with this particular legislation on an annual basis to change it if you see fit. You know, I think practically speaking, once you've extended these, it's, in my opinion, unlikely that it's harder to take them back. That's ultimately your decision.
I would have said the same thing Mr. Kimball just did. I think once you set a precedent like this and then say, oh, by the way, we're going to a needs-based, it's going to be very difficult, especially with a group like the veterans, to say, you know, we gave you this, but now we're taking that away because now you're not eligible. So I would say that, you know, and future councils can do what they will, but my personal feeling is that if we pull the trigger on this tonight, it should stay in place. Mr. Veliber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean, just a quick question for you now. It says, obviously, beginning on the October 1st, 2025 assessment year. So this would be on bills that would come out in July of 2026, correct? So there's no, I'm just want to make sure. This isn't, if we pass this, they can't go back and get retroactive tax relief for the current tax bill. It will be coming for their tax bills next year.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the assessment as of October 1, 25 is what builds the fiscal 27 budget.
Right.
And yes, to your point, the July 26 to June 27, and for which the tax bills go out in July of 26.
All right, so the tax bills the tax year that we're in won't be changed by this motion. It will only be for the next set of tax bills that come out. Well, the next tax year, because the next tax bills will come out in January of 2026, but that'll still be on the 2024 grand list.
Anything else from colleagues? So my comment on this before I call for a vote is that, first of all, I want to say that I've had the honor over the past 2 years to attend the Veterans Day ceremony that the Veterans Advisory Committee has put on at the Medal of Honor Plaza, and I've had the opportunity to speak. This past, on the 7th of November, when I spoke, I talked about the families as well. And Ms. Newman, because you're here, I think it's important to know that not only is it the veterans who we owe a debt of gratitude to, it is the families of the veterans, because they live with it every day, from what their spouse, brother, family member, son, daughter, you know, who served. The families are such an integral part of that. I absolutely will support this. And I think it would be incumbent upon us to take a look at the land in the future as we get a sense of what this will encompass and the scope of it, as we all talked about tonight, where we think we have the full and complete list, but we don't know that for certain. And I think it's incumbent upon us as the fiduciary for our taxpayers to look at it as well. So I will be supporting this, and with that, I will call for a vote. Ms. Pearson.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on Councilor Malone's recommendation for an amendment to add the land tax for the TDIU group. I think that's an amendment that I would support. So I'd like to make an amendment that we add to our resolution, adding the land tax, the 2 acres parcel of land tax for the TDIU group, the most vulnerable group, here as well.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, the way the law is written, I do not believe
That you
that's
can
an option.
separate that
I
out.
think
That
the
was
way-
my
and
concern.
I would confirm, again, I don't pretend to be 100% expert. I have it in front of me, and I've read the OLR report too. But they're in just separate categories. I see nothing enabling extending the land to only certain categories of folks, that, at least the way the law is written. I don't know if you.
So let's hold. And that's your read of it too? Okay, yeah. So more to come, and as I just mentioned in my comments, I think it's gonna benefit this council to look at these going forward, so. And because of the way the statute is currently written, we'll hold off on that, but I appreciate the thought from both of you on that. And with that, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Brings us to item B, the acceptance and appropriation of $50,000 blight lien settlement for 50 Heritage Drive to a blight prevention special revenue account. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 111825-3. Be it resolved that the Town Council hereby accepts and appropriates a $50,000 blight lien settlement for 50 Heritage Drive to a newly established blight prevention special revenue account for the purposes of future blight remediation efforts.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Discussion?
Yeah, this is, the town received $50,000 in a settlement from when the 50 Heritage Drive property was, the ownership changed. And what this money will do is fund a new account that we can then take from to pay for lawn care services, trash removal, things like that, so the town isn't out money directly. It can come from this fund. Mr. Kimball, if you want to flesh that out, or Mr. Martelli?
Yeah, so this is, I think, a real success story of the blight ordinance. This resulting settlement is the result of liens that the town placed on the property. The property had gone into foreclosure and bank ownership, and it was not being cared for a period of, I believe it was over 800 days, Mr. Martelli, I think that's right? 891. 891 days. It was accumulating, these aren't all just town expenses, they were accumulating fines and fees. There were some town expenses also with respect to a couple of clean and lean operations we did to the appreciation of the neighbors as the property would be uncared for at times. But those resulting fines built up, and when the property conveyed, the town was owed a significant sum of money, a little north of this, and our attorney D'Onofrio and team, I assume, did a great job of negotiating a $50,000 settlement at the conveyance to resolve those liens. And so our request here is to sort of use that as seed money when Public Works has to either themselves or go out and contract with someone to go clean and what we call clean and lean a property that has gone through the blight process. this way it's not hitting the public works budget or as an unintended expense that they weren't anticipating. They could draw from this, judiciously to do those that activity. Of course, you then lien that property, and then when that property conveys, that money should be recouped. So I think this is a way we could decide in the future if additional funds coming in either restore this balance, or if we have more, the council could always see fit to sweep it into general fund revenue and support the budget. But again, this is really, we're really happy that this went through. There's a lot of staff work behind the scenes to make this happen, a lot of work for our attorneys. And I think this is a real opportunity for the town to have this money, not overburden the public works budget with these items that come up through the year, but have this money to rely on when we need it. So that's the request.
Questions? Mr. Walsh?
So I know you said that this will, for this specific one, it'll go into that account. Do we have an idea of how much we spend on a yearly basis for blight property maintenance? Is it 10,000, 20,000, 5,000?
I mean, I could take that one. So in this case, so the ordinance allows a $100 a day lien on the property. So we had 891 days, we had an $89,000 lien. Town attorney negotiated and we settled with the 50,000. The cost to actually maintain that property was about $10,000 that the town actually incurred between the snow removal and the landscaping, but the ordinance allows us to place such a lien on the property, and so that's what we did. So this is a big success story in that. Other cases that we've had, we had a family that was really down and out, and a lot of these were case-by-case basis that we worked through in planning and zoning as well as with human services. And so we had a dumpster that was removed, and Human Services was able to utilize some of their funding in order to pay for that, in order to get the dumpster out because it was causing issues with the neighbors, et cetera, et cetera. But, those are case-by-case basis, and that's about $1,000 with the 2 dumpsters that were removed there. So this will allow, as Sean said, allow us to be more nimble and be able to go out, utilize this funding to rectify some of these issues, and then case-by-case basis be able to place additional liens. But, last year, I'd say maybe $10,000 that we incurred.
Right, so
using our forces.
I'm just wondering, is 50,000 overkill for that account? I mean, do we maybe put half of it in there and put half in, I'm just saying, do we need to put 50,000 in an account that could last us the next 5 years?
I think the one issue that this property is a good example of, though, is it took almost 3 years for the property to finally get out of bank ownership and then be sold. And now it's been renovated and sold, and it's, I think, a success story for the street and for the ordinance. But I guess I would point out, and again, hard to predict, because the number of properties you're going to have in any one year. If you have 2 or 3 additional properties you don't anticipate, and you spend $10,000 or $20,000, if you're not recouping any of that for a couple of years, you might exhaust the $50,000 before you get to it. But certainly, any seed money would be great if the council sees fit to change the amount.
I'm just curious, because I know we've asked for like a list of the blight properties and what's going on with them. Maybe if they can add another column about how much it's cost the town in that column. You got this property at whatever, Main Street, and it cost, we've had to mow it 3 times, we had to remove snow. This is how much it's costing, so that we have an ongoing track record of how much some of this blight property is costing us. I think that would be helpful, because I think $50,000 based on what if it's, we've been spending about $10,000 to $12,000 a year. That's going to last us 4 more years. So, but I'm fine with it. I just was curious to see. Hopefully, we don't have that many more blight properties. But
Absolutely.
And I think some of the thought process, Mr. Walsh, was to, if we seed it with this, because this was a settlement that came in from one property. If you start chipping away at that, we're going to get a better sense after a year of what's still available in that account. And like Mr. Kimball said earlier, if we want to take money out of that account and sweep it into general, we can. But this way it's in there. 50 does sound like a lot for right now, but I think we'll know better at the end of a year and, going forward.
Yeah, and to your point also, it does make sense, I think, long-term for us to go out to bid and hire some landscapers that we have on call. So then when we do have these issues, once we go through the blight ordinance and it's time to get to the enforcement, we can have the lawn mowed, we could have the dumpster pulled, we could have the junk service go and clean up the debris in the front yard, and not have to rely on taking town staff off of mowing the fields that are desperately in need or whatever the case may be. And then it's a lot more quantifiable of what those costs are. And right now, we don't have a budget or a mechanism to do that. And so having some money to be able to start that process and then look at it on a year-to-year basis.
Mr. Veliber.
Thank you. As you know, the blight lien is near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate the ordinance and its impact. But just my quick question, and Sean, you touched on this a little bit, but question, so if we seed it with the 50,000 and let's say we use $5,000 to, or a couple $1,000 to fix X house, and then obviously we would, place a lien on the property for the work that we did. When that gets reimbursed, when that gets paid, however that either through either they finally pay us or we have a settlement or whatever, is that going to go back into this fund, or is it, or like that is, if we use money from the fund on a particular property and that property then gets reimbursed, we get reimbursed, is that going back into the fund, or is that going into the general fund? And so that, okay.
So it would be like any other appropriation that you accept in a council meeting. Often, sometimes they're on consent calendar, the money that comes in. In this case, D'Onofrio presented me with a $50,000 check. We have it.
Right.
And then we ask you to accept and appropriate it. So ultimately, it's the council's decision on a case-by-case basis. When that check comes in after closing, you have the opportunity to vote on where you'd like it to go. It could just go to general fund revenue, which many of ours do, or as you see, some go to human services gift accounts, some go to different designated accounts.
Right.
It's no different than that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, I wasn't sure if funds were used, from that 50,000, do they get reimbursed? And so the answer is no. I mean, in theory, it doesn't, just because we use money from that fund, it could be, but I'm just saying, I just want to make sure.
It's a definite maybe.
Right, but that fund isn't, if you take it from the $50,000 and use it for property X, when property X pays out, whatever that lien is, it doesn't necessarily go back in to reimburse the fund from the money that you used originally. It could,
It could.
but it's going to come
Be on
back.
your calendar and you guys would be able to take it up.
Okay, perfect. That's why I just want to make sure. So then, and then obviously that'll also give us, as the chairman said, an opportunity to see over the course of a year or two how those funds are coming out and how they're being used. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Item C is the acceptance of Whispering Oaks Court as a town road. Ms. Allard?
Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 111825-4. Be it resolved that the town council accepts Whispering Oaks Court as a town road, conditioned upon the filing of a satisfactory maintenance bond, recording of the warranty deed and map for the roadway and the storm drainage and sightline easements, confirming that the conveyance is free and clear of all encumbrances and full compliance with all conditions of the approval issued by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Allard. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Jinks. Discussion, Mr. Martelli.
I'm happy to. So this was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission back on November the 12th. It's been reviewed by our town engineer, Merrick Kement, who couldn't be here this evening to discuss. But he assures me it meets all of our road standards as well as our subdivision regulations as a standard subdivision cul-de-sac. And he requests the acceptance by the municipality.
Thank you. Questions from colleagues? Mr. Mylone.
Is this the road where there's an issue with the? So the only question I have is if they are required later on to put in a common mail
Mailbox,
facility,
yeah.
then they're going to have to ask for permission to put it on in the town right away? Because they won't have permission to put it on anymore. I just want to make sure.
From what I understand with that is after the meeting, and I talked with Merrick and Mike about it. We had a call last week with several of the neighbors, with Peter Talbot and Mr. Malone, that there's a common area property that they would seek to place that on. And according to Merrick, this approval doesn't have anything to do with where that would ultimately be, because there would have to be an easement that would have to be set aside for the
Okay, I think
establishment of it.
I think that common area is in the right of way.
Is it? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think so. When I looked at the plans that were submitted afterwards, it looks like that you have an expanded right of way there. I don't have an issue. Hopefully the post office will give them the right, because it's the proper thing to do for individual delivery. I just don't want to see them, I mean, I don't want to hold up the acceptance of the road either, because I'm sure they don't want to maintain it all winter. It's just a glitch that I think we might be back here, or you might be back here dealing with, that's all.
Yeah, and one of the things that we were asked to draft a letter from town staff, and so I'm working with planning and with engineering to put that together, and with Sean, and this approval, we want to attach to it because it really states that this is an accepted town road, and there's a lot that goes into this, but one of the things is there's a question if it's a condo community or whatnot, but this is a town road, and it should be treated just like any other town road.
And that's
Right.
the issue. But as long as you understand, it may come
Understood.
back here and you might have to accommodate.
Anything else? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Item D is the approval of lease extension with Friends of Boulder Knoll, Inc. Ms. Pearson.
Be it resolved, the Town Council approves Resolution Number 111825-5. Be it resolved that the Town Council hereby authorizes the execution of a 3-year Third Amendment to lease by and between the Town of Cheshire and Friends of Boulder Knoll, LLC, all of Cheshire, Connecticut, for the land owned by the town consisting of 2 parcels on Boulder Road. And be it further resolved that the town manager is authorized and directed to execute on behalf of the town said amendment to lease in the form and upon the terms and conditions as presented at this meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Thank you, Mr. Veliber. Mr. Kimball?
Sure. Yeah, so this is, as it says there, a third amendment to the existing lease the town has had. We've had a very good relationship with the tenant, the Friends of Boulder Knoll, for the property. There's no amendment, there's no changes other than the dates to the existing agreement that we've had for the past number of years. I see Mr. Jordan in the audience there, who's always very good about calling me consistent with the lease, calling me to notify me of any activities that they're asking to do on the property or requesting of us, and I think it's been a very positive relationship all around, so we would ask for your support to extend the lease for another 3 years.
Questions? Ms. Pearson?
Not so much a question, just a comment. Just appreciate the Friends of Boulder Knoll and the support they provided in our community, both in terms of supporting organizations like the Pollinator Pathway with their native garden, donating food to the food pantry. I know the gardens, the farmers have donated food to some of our pantries. And supporting our Coalition for Sustainable Cheshire, hosting our 5th annual sustainability fair on their property. It was an opportunity to showcase this beautiful open space in our community, and we appreciated their support. And most recently, supporting the town, and it's now recognized in our Sustainable CT brochure, with our community composting site. And so supporting food waste diversion efforts in our community, we appreciate all that you are providing to the residents and our town of Cheshire.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Anyone else? Mr. Veliber?
Yes, I agree. The Friends of Boulder Knoll are a true asset to the town. That property is a wonderful property. It provides a lot of resources to the town. And the nice thing is it's such a wonderful place to be if you're there. I mean, people don't even know it's there, but when you go there, it's such a nice property, and it's truly amazing what is being done on that property. So thank you to yourself as well as all of the Friends of Boulder Knoll for your continued stewardship of that property. Thank you.
Further from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Item E is the acceptance and appropriation of $287,735 from the South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority for the permanent resurfacing and restoration of Mixville Road following the completion of the water main installation. Ms. Allard.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 111825-6. Be it resolved that the Town Council hereby authorizes the execution of an agreement by and between the Town of Cheshire and the South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority known as the RWA, in regards to the water main installation associated with the Mixville Road Capital Project, and be it further resolved that the town manager is authorized and directed to execute on behalf of the town said agreement in the form and upon the terms and conditions as presented at this meeting, and be it further resolved that the town council hereby accepts and appropriates $287,735 from the RWA for permanent resurfacing and restoration costs.
Thank you, Ms. Allard. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Kimball to kick off discussion, or Mr. Martelli?
Let's see how I can do.
Sorry.
So here's the story. So the Regional Water Authority, as we know, replaced a much-needed replacement of a water line from Route 70 all the way up Mixville Road to Tucker over the spring and well into the summer and into the fall. Work wrapped about 2 weeks ago. They restored the area at the upper part of Mixville Road, Mixville Park rather, and the Regional Water Authority owed the town restoration of the disturbed area, which is the east travel lane of Mixville Road. After review by town engineering staff, it was thought that the better way would be to repave the road in its entirety and not just the east travel lane, which would have created one half of the road being repaved, which if you think you have comments about the road being paved now, I'm certain that they would greatly follow. So by doing this, we will receive the money from the Regional Water Authority. We will then, as part of the spring paving program, repave the road in its entirety from Route 70 all the way to Tucker. Engineering staff has gone out and reviewed the condition of the road to ensure that it could be plowed and all the things for the winter months until we could actually get out there and do the repair. Been part of discussions also, whereas when you do water line replacement, when it is set into the new sand bed, it's nice to let it settle a little bit before you go out there and repave the entire road. So I think that it's prudent and in the town's best interest. Yes, it's going to be a little bit disturbing for some of the residents out there to not have a perfectly paved road for the winter months. I travel the road every day. I can attest to that. But the spin-off benefit, while I have the mic, is that my brother can attest that it has been greatly reduced for people cutting through the area because people use the cut through from Route 70 to Route 68, and now they're finding alternate ways because they don't like traveling on the road because it slows them down. So this will cost the town far less. Regional Water Authority is happy to do this, and actually we get a better rate on purchasing the asphalt than Regional Water Authority does, and so the cost, it's about 75% cheaper for the town to do it this way, and you're going to get a perfectly paved road in the spring. We're going to work through our new communication specialist in our office to put together, if this is approved tonight, something to put on the website to state all of this in a hopefully logical order, so residents understand that at the end of the day, it's going to be a better product for everybody.
Makes sense. Thank you. Questions? Mr. Jinks?
I just want to say, it sounds to me like what you're saying is we can slow people down by just not maintaining the roads. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, it might not be the best. I just had to throw that in there. Because my brother's very critical of town work.
I think we've just solved all of our problems.
Yeah.
Only paved half the road.
Yeah. Anything else from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. Item F is the approval of bid waiver for UV treatment modules at the wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Jenks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved, the town council approves resolution number 111825-7, whereas the wastewater treatment plant's Trojan UV treatment system has 3 modules that require replacing, and whereas the UV treatment system is a proprietary system associated with the treatment plant's upgrade and cannot be outsourced to other vendors, now therefore be it resolved, the town council pursuant to section 7-8C11 of the town's charter approves a waiver of bid requirements for the purchase of said equipment from the Trojan Technologies not to exceed $350,000.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Allard, thank you. For,
I'm not going to try to explain this.
yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Remember when we talked about subject matter experts? We have the subject matter expert here. Mr. Milano, it was a pleasure to see you. If you would tell us about this, it's my understanding that this deals with proprietary vendor materials, and please take it away.
Yeah, so we have a disinfection season. We have to disinfect our effluent pretty much all spring and summer. This system was installed in the 2014-2015 upgrade. It is proprietary to Trojan Technologies. even something as little as me purchasing one bulb for the system, I have to buy it from Trojan. So it wouldn't be cost effective to try to put this to bid, because any contractor that would bid it would have to buy it from Trojan anyway, regardless. So this is essentially just finishing what we started. We did do the same bid waiver last year to get the first module. This is just to replace the remaining 3 modules. They all have about 20 to 30,000 hours of useful life. It's no different than a bulb at your house. So considering that we've gotten close to 12 years of continuous service on the existing light bulbs and ballast, you got your money's worth on the first set. This is just to get a whole new set. We didn't install the one we bought last year, waiting to get all of them at the same time. So this will get the remaining that we need, and we'll install them for the spring of 2026, and continue to get hopefully another 10 to 15 years out of this complete new system.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Milano will be coming back to you momentarily after the approval of bid waiver to fully refurbish one belt filter press. Mr. Jinks.
That can be resolved. The town council approves resolution number 111825-8, whereas the belt filter presses at the wastewater treatment plant were fully rebuilt in 2014 and have a typical lifespan of 10 years, and whereas the belt filter presses are proprietary pieces of equipment, now therefore be it resolved that the town council pursuant to section 7-8C11 of the town charter approves a waiver of bid requirements for the purchase of said equipment from Andritz Separation Incorporated, not to exceed $375,000.
We have a motion and a second from Ms. Pearson. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Milano.
Yeah, so same scenario. These were actually installed in the 1990. So they are original to 1990. They were rebuilt once before in 2014. Andritz recommends full rebuild every 10 years. So we're past the 10-year point, so we're looking to have Andritz come back in. They take everything down to just the bare metal, and they replace every moving part on the press. So essentially you'll get another 10 to 15 years of useful life. Same situation, the belt filter press is made by Andritz Technologies, so it just makes sense for them to come in and do the work, because any outside contractor will just have markups and buy everything straight from Andritz. It just makes financial sense to have Andritz come out and do the work themselves.
Questions? Seeing none, you're getting off easy, Mr. Milano. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Item H is approval of an MOU with Connecticut NEMBA for the proposed development of a mountain bike trail network at Yankee Express Highlands property. I'm going to ask for a motion to table, thank you, so that we can get further input into the MOU from our Environment Commission. So thank you, Mr. Velabar, for the motion. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Jinks. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item I, and make sure your cup is full of water here, Ms. Allard. The item I is the approval of transfer of 1,062 square feet plus or minus of town-owned land on Route 10 at Country Club Road and Curve Hill Road to the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation for the replacement of the computerized traffic system project. Ms. Allard.
Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 111825-10. Be it resolved that the town of Cheshire hereby agrees to grant to the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation property rights affecting a parcel of real estate owned by the town of Cheshire in conjunction with Route 10 computerized traffic signal system upgrades project. The property rights to be acquired are a taking of approximately 1,062 plus or minus square feet at Country Club Road and Curve Hill Road as described on the attached map dated July 2025. And be it further resolved that the town council hereby approves the conveyance to Connecticut DOT of the above described property rights for the aggregate sum of approximately $6,375 and authorizes the town manager, Sean M. Kimball, to execute and deliver any deeds, easements, instruments, or agreements necessary to carry out the intent of the foregoing resolution.
We have a motion from Ms. Allard, a second from Mr. Walsh, to kick off discussion.
Sure.
Mr. Martelli.
Yep, so these all had came before you when they were referred to planning and zoning for the 8-24 review. So now they're coming back for final approval. You're gonna be getting, I'm not sure how many more of these, but this is all for small takings along Route 10 for the new computerized light system, which is being installed. So we can either go this way or they're gonna take it through eminent domain. So,
Yeah.
I suggest that.
This is a much better way
This
to
is a
do
much
it,
better
yes.
way, because it comes with some money. If there's specific questions, I can do my best. The town engineer has reviewed each and every one of these in detail, so I can get questions to him, but I think it's pretty straightforward. So it's not
Mr.
the
Walsh.
sidewalk on Curve Hill Road.
No, I know, we're still waiting for that sidewalk, but, it does say Curve Hill though, but the map only shows that little section where Country Club is. Is there gonna be something on the Curve Hill
Because
side?
it's opposite Curve Hill. No,
But there's
this
nothing
is-
gonna be over on the corner over
If there is, they're gonna have to come back with a separate map.
Okay,
This
so
is
it's just that little map area where the land
Yes.
is, okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? There's going to be 3 more of these, so it's going to get a little bit redundant for a moment here, but I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. J is the approval of transfer of approximately 281 square feet plus or minus easement on Route 10 at Maple Avenue and Pleasant Drive to the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation for the replacement of the computerized traffic system project. Back to you, Ms. Allard.
Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 111-825-11. Be it resolved that the town of Cheshire hereby agrees to grant to the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation property rights affecting a parcel of real estate owned by the town of Cheshire in conjunction with Route 10 computerized traffic signal system upgrades project. The property rights to be acquired are a taking of approximately 281 plus or minus square feet at Maple Avenue and Pleasant Drive as described on the attached map dated July 2025. And be it further resolved that the town council hereby approves the conveyance to Connecticut DOT of the above described property rights for the aggregate sum of approximately $510 and authorizes the town manager, Sean M. Kimball, to execute and deliver any deeds, easements, instruments, or agreements necessary to carry out the intent of the foregoing resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Thank you, Ms. Allard, for the motion. Mr. Martelli, I
So this
assume
is a
ditto
small-
is
it's a
appropriate
small
here?
piece of property at the corner of the Gateway Parklet at the end of Maple Avenue that the town owns and maintains. It's not in any of the landscape beds. If that matters, just point that out.
Mr. Walsh, did beautification look at this, or?
They will certainly see it, but I mean, it's.
Yeah, so you're
So
saying it
just-
doesn't affect any of the,
Honestly, though, the area where this is going is just grass now, so there's not.
Okay.
And the equipment that's there is dated and rusty, so it'll probably be an improvement.
Just at the very tip of it.
It's very,
Yeah.
yeah, it's 281 square feet.
excellent. Seeing no other questions, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. Item K is the approval of transfer of traffic easement on Route 10 at South Brooksville Road, Cook Hill Road, and Harrison Road to the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation for the replacement of the computerized traffic system. Back to you, Ms. Allard.
Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 111-825-12. Be it resolved that the town of Cheshire hereby agrees to grant to the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation property rights affecting a parcel of real estate owned by the town of Cheshire in conjunction with Route 10 computerized traffic signal system upgrades project. The property rights to be acquired are a taking of approximately 156 plus or minus square feet at South Brooksville Road, Cook Hill Road, and Harrison Road as described on the attached map dated March 2025. And be it further resolved that the town council hereby approves the conveyance to Connecticut DOT of the above described property rights for the aggregate sum of approximately $500 and authorizes the town manager Sean M. Kimball to execute and deliver any deeds, easements, instruments, or agreements necessary to carry out the intent of the foregoing resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Veliber. Thank you, Ms. Allard. More of the same, Mr. Martelli?
This is 150, was it 150?
156.
156 square feet. So this is right at the corner of Cook Hill where the town's other parklet is. There's already equipment there, so this is the replacement of in the corner, and there's a handicapped accessible ramp that'll be put in.
Okay. And this doesn't affect the bus stop that's at that,
No, it's on the other side. This is where the.
and, because
the
that's
landscaped
private
areas.
property too,
That
so,
is.
okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Veliber?
Just a quick question, and maybe, unrelated to this, but maybe related a little bit, and something that sort of you touched on, Mr. Chairman. With this property, I thought there'd been some discussion, first of all, we'd had a discussion of possible bus stop, but that's not affecting this property there. But I'd also heard that there was a possibility of reconfiguring that intersection. Has there been any discussion with the state in that?
I have not been
Okay,
part of that.
okay.
But
I
what
mean-
I do know is that there is talk about bus stops that I've been on separate calls with, and if there is gonna be a bus stop there, it's gonna be a little bit further north on 10. So there's a sidewalk that goes behind the landscaped area at the corner of Cook Hill Road. So the bus stop would be a little bit further down, closer to Southwick, kind of diagonal from Cheshire Nursery.
Where that
To move it
path
away
comes
from
around.
that intersection where there's a lot of conflicts with the traffic lights and crossing.
Got it, okay. And plus, based on where this is, even if they reconfigured Harrison and South Brooksville, that's on the other side of the road and wouldn't affect this anyway.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. The next is approval of transfer of easement on Route 10 at Weeks Road and private driveway to the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation for the replacement of the computerized traffic system project. Ms. Allard, you've done so good so far, so keep it going.
I think you just want to hear my voice one last
Yes.
time. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 111825-13. Be it resolved that the town of Cheshire hereby agrees to grant to the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation property rights affecting a parcel of real estate owned by the town of Cheshire in conjunction with the Route 10 computerized traffic signal systems upgrades project. The property rights to be acquired are a taking of approximately 829 plus or minus square feet at Weeks Road and private driveway as described on the attached map dated May 2025. And be it further resolved that the town council hereby approves the conveyance to Connecticut DOT of the above described property rights for the aggregate sum of approximately $525 and authorizes the town manager Sean M. Kimball to execute and deliver any deeds, easements, instruments, or agreements necessary to carry out the intent of the foregoing resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Jenks. Thank you, Ms. Allard.
This is
Weeks
similar to
Road.
the others. This is at the entrance to Highland School. I know there's other intersection improvements that are being worked on. I'm not fully versed on that project. I know there was money that was approved in capital for that. I'm certain that if Merrick reviewed this, that all of that is being taken into consideration.
Questions, comments? You sure? You looked like you had one. That's why I hesitated, Mr. Veliber. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. As we continue to give away easement and property, item M is. Is it this? Oh, these are sales.
Yeah, we're getting money in.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, these are the schools. So item M is the approval of easement agreement with Eversource for 1370 Marion Road, which is the Barnum Elementary School. Ms. Allard?
Okay. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 111825-14. Be it resolved that the Town of Cheshire grant and convey to the Connecticut Light and Power Company, doing business as Eversource Energy, a corporation chartered by the General Assembly of the State of Connecticut and having its principal office in the town of Berlin, in the state of Connecticut, its successors and assigns, permanent rights for the installation, maintenance, and repair of electric and gas lines over, under, and across land in the town of Cheshire and state of Connecticut, as set forth in the proposed 1370 Marion Road easement presented to this meeting, which is hereby ordered filled with the records of this meeting, and be it further resolved that Sean M. Kimball, the town manager of the town of Cheshire, be hereby authorized to execute and deliver in the name of the town of Cheshire an easement presented to this meeting, and to do any and all other acts to effectuate the foregoing.
Thank you, Ms. Allard. Thank you, Ms. Pearson.
It's the utility easement that'll serve from Marion Road down the northern entrance into the new Barnum Elementary School, which will bring all the utilities subsurface to the new school building.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. N is the approval of easement agreement with Eversource for 414 North Brooksville Road for Norton Elementary School. Last but not least, Ms. Allard.
Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 111825-15. Be it resolved that the town of Cheshire grant and convey to the Connecticut Light and Power Company, doing business as Eversource Energy, a corporation chartered by the General Assembly of the State of Connecticut and having its principal office in the town of Berlin in the state of Connecticut, its successors and assigns, permanent rights for the installation, maintenance, and repair of electric and gas lines over, under, and across land in the town of Cheshire and state of Connecticut as set forth in the proposed 414 North Brooksville Road easement presented to this meeting, which is hereby ordered filed with the records of this meeting, and be it further resolved that Sean M. Kimball, the town manager of the town of Cheshire, be hereby authorized to execute and deliver in the name of the town of Cheshire an easement presented to this meeting, and to do any and all other acts to effectuate the foregoing.
Thank you, Ms. Allard. Do we have a second? Ms. Pearson, thank you. Mr. Martelli.
Utility easement from Route 42 for the new Norton Elementary School.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Item O is the approval of agreement with the Town Hall Union Local 1303-374 of Council for AFSCME AFL-CIO. We will not require an executive session for this, so I will turn it over to Ms. Kramer.
My computer just blanked out literally as.
Of course.
Yeah, but Sean, being the expert manager that he is, had a paper copy. Be it resolved, the town council approves resolution 111825-16. Be it resolved, the town council approves the collective bargaining agreement between the town of Cheshire and the Town Hall Union Local 1303-374 of Council 4, AFSCME, AFSCME, AFL-CIO for the term July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2029, as presented pursuant to approval by the union membership.
Flip a coin?
Yeah, I took the last one.
Thank you, Ms. Kramer. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Kimball.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. So as reviewed previously by the town council, and I can confirm the union also had previously voted in favor of this proposed tentative agreement with the town hall union represented by Nutmeg. This is a 4-year contract with the union starting 2025, 2029. There are a number of somewhat smaller fixes and cleanups that were done throughout the contract, number of requests that the union were looking for that the town supported, and vice versa. It was a very amicable and very productive negotiation, so we certainly thank our town hall union and their leadership for their care throughout and their patience as we worked through the negotiation. And again, a number of smaller changes and fixes that we made throughout, but I think the most salient pieces, as I said, were a 4-year contract. There are some health insurance increases that they've agreed to, pushing up the contribution from employees to 23% for the open access plan by the end of the contract, and up to 16% for the HSA plan by the end of the contract, stepped along the way, and 3% general wage increases for each of the 4 years of the contract, plus the addition of a 2% increase for a creation of a step 7 on the step scale. All in all, we feel this is a very fair agreement, and we look for the council's support and endorsement and approval tonight. So happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. Item P is the approval of stipulated tax agreement. Item Q is the review and approval of the town manager's contract. We will discuss those as part of executive session, which brings us to item 9, which is the town manager's report and communications. Mr. Kimball.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This should be uploaded to your digital copy, but I also have a paper copy at your seats today. Up first, we want to highlight and announce the sort of second annual Winter Wonderland for 2025, which will be at our beautiful new Bartland Park. That's on Sunday, December 7th from 3 to 5:30 p.m. This is put on by our Cheshire Parks and Rec Department, including the annual holiday tree and menorah lighting. And there will once again be activities for the whole family, games, ice carving, arts and crafts, roasted chestnuts, hot chocolate, cookies, snacks for purchase, and hayrides and more. And as always, Santa will be arriving on a fire truck. So please mark your calendars for Sunday, December 7th. Speaking of Bartland Park, I'm very proud to announce that the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association, CRPA, has selected Bartland Park South Project as the 2025 Park of Merit Award winner. The town will be recognized for its efforts at their annual conference next Tuesday at Mohegan Sun. Thank you to our Recreation Director, John Golick, for submitting this project, and all of the folks that worked on this, our town staff, town council, volunteers, and as everyone knows, it's been a project really a decade in the making, and we're very, very proud of it, and very appropriate that it received the Park of Merit Award for 2025. Moving on, some additional recreation offerings this time of year. We have the Great Turkey Hunt on November 20th for Cheshire Parks and Rec. This is the Great Turkey Hunt sponsored by Wallingford Chick-fil-A. Open to Cheshire residents. You can register at MyRec, cheshirect.myrec.com. Also, the always popular Swim with Santa program at the Cheshire Community Pool on December 13th from 1:15 to 2:30 p.m. You can take photos underwater with Santa. And also the Santa Hotline from 5 to 7 p.m. on both December 16th and 17th. Children have the opportunity to chat with Santa himself via phone call. Elves at the Youth Center will patch the calls straight in using the number provided, and you can register for that also at cheshirect.myrec.com. Our Human Services Department will be continuing their annual Adopt a Family holiday program. They're asking for gift card donations, which they will distribute to Cheshire families facing financial hardship. During the holidays, several popular retailers are Target, Walmart, Marshalls, Dunkin', Kohl's, Amazon, Stop and Shop, Big Y, and of course local Cheshire businesses. The Department of Human Services is extremely grateful to be part of such a generous and compassionate community. Please contact Kristen Sherry at Human Services with any questions. Also, a reminder that leaf collection is underway. You see the schedule there. The week we're in now, all residences west of Route 10 are being collected. The following week, the east side, and alternating until December 8th, when all streets will be collected for one last pass through town. The next page printed the results of the recent referendum. 4 of our 7 referendum projects, capital projects, were approved. You see the various votes there. Approval included the acquisition of open space, replacement of fire alarm control system, the road improvement program, and the acquisition and replacement of the fire truck. Also, our monthly mattress and electronics recycling event for December will be Saturday, December 13th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the typical location adjacent to Public Works at 1304 Waterbury Road. And last but not least, a reminder that also on December 13th, a lot of things happening on December 13th. The shops at Stonebridge will be having their grand opening celebration. I believe councilors received a postcard for that as well. They'll be having a grand opening celebration scheduled from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. with family-friendly fun, giveaways, and holiday cheer to celebrate this important milestone in this long-planned project for Cheshire. And that concludes my report.
Questions? Mr. Veliver?
So, thank you, Sean. A quick question for you. Do you know, maybe Andrew, someone, the leaf collection that we currently do, do we know so the town does that, what's the cost, what's the budget cost to that? Do you know? Anyone know?
Yeah, it has a budget line in our budget book. I don't have with me.
No, that's right, because I was just curious, because someone asked me the other day, like, how come Cheshire doesn't come around and vacuum up leaves? You know, like, some towns have that leaf, you know, if you blow it out to the street, they'll come and vacuum it up. And so I was just maybe for the future, if you can find out the answer to, what do we do for the current system, and do we have any idea what it would cost if we went to a vacuum system?
Sure. Yep, I think that has been, I know it's been a budget topic in past years, but not in recent ones, though, so we can certainly revisit that. I know we rent the truck and Public Works crews themselves go around and do the bag collection, which is the system that Cheshire has employed. I do know that, of course, the vacuum systems are more expensive, but ultimately, I don't have the number off the top of my head. So
Yeah, that's what I said. If you could just, in
prepare
all
for
your
that.
free time.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely, appreciate it.
thank you.
Other questions? No questions, but two comments, Mr. Kimball. The Winter Wonderland last year was absolutely fabulous, and I would encourage anybody to attend this year's, as I'm sure our Park and Rec and Public Works crews have been working to make this year's even bigger and better. And congratulations to those two organizations again as well for, I've said on numerous occasions that Bartlam Park is absolutely a gem that we have in this town. And the fact that it has now been recognized by the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association as a park of merit is certainly and absolutely appropriate. Mr. Kimball, please pass along the council's thanks and kudos and congratulations to all those appropriate that had a hand in that. So, and something tells me our grant writer had something to do with filling out the application. So.
Actually, John did it all.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Gawlak. Well done. Appreciate it.
I mean, I gave him all the pictures.
Moral support, Mr. Martelli, yes. The department status reports, police, fire, economic development, speaking of Mr. Martelli, are in your packets for your perusal. Reports of committees of the council, chairman's report starting to my left. Ms. Kramer.
Oh, my microphone's been on this whole time. The Personnel Committee has the town manager's review to look forward to, and what else am I chairman for? Nothing, liaison for environment, that's it.
Chairman's reports, Mr. Wolf.
Nothing to report, sir.
Ms. Allard.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Jinks.
No, I just want to take a moment to thank my budget committee colleagues in helping us kind of work through the veterans, exemption. So it's an important effort, and I think a good thing that we did tonight. Thank you.
Ms. Pearson.
Nothing to report.
AI is, and not the AI as you would think of it, is the referral of Section 13-32 regulation of peddlers and solicitors to the Ordinance Review Committee. Nothing for 10B miscellaneous. 11 appointments, liaison reports, starting to my left again, Ms. Kramer.
Environment Committee is currently working on the MIU edition for the Yankee Expressway park for the mountain biking. They have been discussing a lot of invasive treatments, and that's pretty much it.
Mr. Wolf?
No report, sir.
Ms. Allard?
The Public Safety Committee met and they discussed, I guess it's still in question regarding the Stop the Bleed legislation, and they're looking for some direction on that. I guess they received some information from Chesprocott, but not exactly so sure about how the town is going to handle that legislation. I guess there were some questions about hydrant testing, and some discussion that they were going to reach out to Chief Kastner to see if he knew anything about it and what data he might be able to have about that. And also, they're saying that they're looking to give some training on the Stop the Bleed for some youth league coaches that are not affiliated with the town. That's all I have for public safety. And then the Youth and Human Services Committee met, and I printed out some notes and I left them at home. I apologize, but they're still working very much on their cannabis prevention campaign, and all the wonderful committees and sub-services that are provided. They're just fantastic. I encourage everybody to go online and subscribe to all this stuff, so that way you can stay abreast of everything that's happening. In addition, they announced at that commission that there is a successful collaboration with the Jane Doe No More Foundation, and there's going to be some town-wide, some educational opportunities throughout the town on a probably quarterly basis about sexual abuse prevention. And that's it.
Ms. Ellard, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for your work on that as well, because you were instrumental in seeing that through, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jinks?
No report.
Ms. Pearson?
I just wanted to, I did share these for the Sustainable CT team. Again, I know mentioned last month, but we did receive the bronze recertification on October 28th. Karen Schnitzer, the chair of the Environment Commission, who's also a member of Sustainable CT team, joined me and Hap Jordan where were we? East Haddam at the Goodspeed Opera House for a wonderful celebration. So I encourage you all to look at the brochure, which just describes some of the accomplishments in our community in terms of where we did receive points. I just want to thank the entire Sustainable CT team. Karen Schnitzer, David Borowy, Peter Prohaska, Andrew Martelli, thank you for your support as Assistant Town Manager in securing points for us, and Ray Harris, who was our municipal liaison, and all of the municipal employees and local nonprofits who helped us to gain points and recertify our town as bronze, so now we're eligible for the Sustainable CT funds again. So,
Excellent. Mr. Walsh?
Thank you. I unfortunately missed the last beautification committee, but I do know that there will be plenty of coffee in the north end with, I think, Starbucks and Dunkin' is getting sign approvals up there. And the new sign that we had talked about, I don't know if we've talked about it here, or beautification for the Cheshire Senior Center too. On the Cheshire Housing Authority, if you've seen the land being cleared down by the Cheshire Vet for Jack's Farm, this is a project that's been in the works for many years now, and it's finally coming to fruition with the clearing of the land. It's going to have three buildings, two that are going to be like farm style. One is going to be a barn-like with, I think, 43 units. The majority of them are going to be affordable. And I believe it's probably going to be a year away from being completed at least. But it's nice to see the land getting cleared. And I know people don't like to see land getting cleared, but it's going to be a tasteful looking three buildings that fit into the farmland of Cheshire as best as it can. So, thank you.
Mr. Walsh, on that, is there, is it on the Cheshire Housing Authority site where the
Yes,
people could,
thank
yeah,
you.
people can see the,
Right, if you go into the Cheshire Housing Authority website, click on Jack's Farm, they'll show you the 3 buildings there. There's a meeting tomorrow night that I hope to get to, so I might have more information on that too. Thank you.
Mr. Veliber? Mr. Malone? Appointments, Mr. Veliber? Mr. Wolf? I apologize, but I do have one. We had a resignation from the Veterans Advisory Committee. Pam Guglielmino, who is an unaffiliated member, resigned from that committee, and I am bringing forward the appointment of Emily Trudeau to replace her. Ms. Trudeau is also unaffiliated, and her term will be from 11/18/25 to 1/31/27. Yeah, do we, because that was an appointed, do we need to get a, have it approved through the normal? Should we just do a vote? Okay. We have a second from Mr. Wolf. All those in favor, it's VAC, the Veterans Advisory Committee. And Pam Guglielmino was recommended originally from the committee members that were in place. And Emily Trudeau, I know, has worked extensively with the committee on the resolution that we passed tonight, so.
Is she Emily Renato online? Or does she say?
I know her as Emily Trudeau. That's my only work with her. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes 8-1, with Mr. Veliber voting against. Item 12, Town Attorney's Report. Mr. D'Agostino?
No report, thank you.
Council Communications, I did read a letter for the veterans, and I did that during public communication at the respect of the author who was in the audience this evening. Nothing for miscellaneous, so executive session, we have 2 items. As already discussed a little bit earlier, approval of a stipulated tax agreement and the review and approval of the town manager's contract. We will go into executive session and vote on those 2 items when we come out. And with that, call for a motion to go into executive session to include, Chief, are you staying? There's nothing, yeah, okay. Because contract is also on there, contract negotiations, so, to include the, Madam Clerk, you're, wow, it's gonna be a small group, the town council, along with, the town manager and Mr. D'Agostino. I'll accept a motion for the table. Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Second, thank you, Mr. Walsh. All those in favor? We are in executive session.